welcome to InGeneral, the Jurassic Outpost podcast, episode 158. My name is Jack. On this episode, I'm joined with Alex, Derek Don Davis Jr., Corey, Samantha, guest 506181, and Assis. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Don Davis is my brother, yes.
Guest 506181, for those who hadn't figured that out, is actually Caleb. Welcome, Caleb.
Yes, new name. Changed it.
New name.
Legally rolls off the
changed.
Yeah.
Thanks to Corey. On this episode, we are going to be discussing Jurassic World Rebirth. Everybody has finally seen it. Most of these guys saw it weeks and weeks ago. But Alex and myself and Assis finally saw it on opening day. And we all have very many thoughts. Because there's 7 of us on this podcast, I thought it would be good to kind of go around the metaphorical table and ask everybody what their individual thoughts were before I start rinsing the shit out of the movie. So, we're just going to start Actually, we're going to start ladies first. Samantha, overall, tell us what you thought of Rebirth.
Overall, had a great time. Loved the movie. I think I said this in the chat as soon as I got out, but it quickly shot up over all the other world movies. So, for me, it's number 3 Jurassic ranking.
Wow. And your order is Jurassic Park, Lost World, then Rebirth?
Correct.
Okay, great. Out of 10?
8.
Wow. Okay. Strong.
Yep. I had a good time.
Yeah. And how many times have you seen it? Are you ordering them?
Just twice.
Just twice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's low for a Jurassic fan, I must say.
For this group, I feel like it is.
Yeah. Okay, Alex, what about you? I saw it with you, so I kind of know what your thoughts are. But the audience weren't there. The audience listening to this podcast, they weren't there in London with us. So what did you think?
I think the most interesting thing for me was that going in, I thought I had seen the film through the teasers, the trailers. Like I thought I knew every beat of the film. And sure, narratively, that kind of turned out to be true. But what I saw on screen did not match at all what I was expecting. Like the kind of the feel and the pacing and the tone. I was very, very surprised. And I think I always find when I come out of a film and it doesn't match up to my expectation, I go kind of have a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, I don't like that. I've kind of mulled it over the last few days, and I think it is a flawed film, but I definitely think I can appreciate it a little bit more for what it is. I wouldn't say I adored it, but like I don't hate it.
We both came out thinking the same sort of thing. In fact, it's kind of funny. We were with Sigourney, my partner, you, and Stevie, and the 4 of us just kind of sat there during the credits. Nobody said anything. Nobody really knew what to say. And I think partly we were all waiting for a superhero post-credits scene. But when we came out, we all kind of just were like, yeah, that wasn't quite what I was expecting. You've mulled it over and you've kind of gone in a positive direction with it.
But it's taken time. Like it could have quite easily gone the other way.
Well, I have gone the other way. The more I mulled it over, the more I'm like, yeah, no, I was not happy, but we'll get to that. Derek, why don't you? Actually, Alex, what do you give it out of 10 now?
Oh, okay.
Like still probably like a 6. Like I don't think maybe like a high 6, but I wouldn't probably go any higher than that.
Okay. And what about in your series ranking? Where would you kind of put that?
To be fair, I don't think I have like a numbered order. Like obviously it's JP, then it's The Lost World, and then maybe JP3 and Jurassic World kind of interchange, and then Rebirth underneath.
Interesting. Okay. Derek Davis Jr., Don the 5th. Tell
that
me.
number keeps changing. How many times removed am I, or together? I don't know.
Depends
who's
what
my
kind
daddy?
Of mood I'm in. Tell me, what did you think of Rebirth? Because you obviously saw it a while before, say, Alex, Assis, and I did, right? So I knew that you weren't too keen, but you've seen it again.
Yeah, because I initially saw it at the early Monday screenings, like some of us did, and I think it's always important the first time you watch a movie for something that you really love, that your expectations are gonna play into how you react. Like even if you try not to, it subconsciously is just there. So yeah, my initial viewing, I was not that positive, because I expected something different than what we got. But, I've since seen it 2 more times. I've seen it 3 times total now, and I enjoyed it much more the second and third time. Like, it definitely, the expectation was removed. I knew what it was, so I was kind of able to enjoy it for what it was. And yeah, it's just a fun movie. It's kind of like on par with me with like Jurassic Park 3 in a way, but a bit more interesting, more stuff going on than JP3. So I guess I would currently rank it as Jurassic Park. You guys are gonna kill me for this. Then Jurassic World.
I'm gonna kill you.
Then Lost World. So I'm not crazy. Then Lost World. Then it would probably be Rebirth. Then JP3, and then Dominion and Fallen Kingdom. They switch places on the day. I can't ever decide. There's like good and bad in both. But anyway, so yeah, it's in the middle for me for Rebirth, pretty much.
Okay, and what about out of 10? What would you give it if you had to?
I mean, still kind of early, but right now I probably would say like a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. Yeah.
High numbers. Okay.
That's still kind of in the low mid, but yeah.
Corey, tell me, what did you think?
I like it. I'm good. I'm very positive on it. I had kind of a different take on expectations. I think something that made it more positive to me is I saw it for the first time with AMC's Screen Unseen, and it was kind of like not a very well kept secret that it was going to be Jurassic, but there was always that little bit of like, did I just buy a $6 movie ticket to go see like something terrible that I'm just going to walk at it, like Megan 2 or something like that?
That's so bad.
And so I already said, I was like, I'm going to walk out. And so when like Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey popped up on screen, and then my whole theater cheered, I was like, okay, I'm already going into this with a more positive attitude than I probably would have like just on a regular showing. I will say, so the second time I watched it, I probably noticed the flaws a lot more than I did the first time. And those really stood out to me, but I think I still came away with both of my viewings, like really liking it. And I'm sure we'll get into all the flaws. I'm sure Jack, you'll point out a lot of them. But I'm still high on it. I think it's a really good return to form. And
okay.
Yeah.
And where would you rank it? What is your series ranking?
I currently have it. I probably rank it around a 7.5. I go original, Lost World, Rebirth, 3, World, Fallen Kingdom, Dominion.
That's a good ranking. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Assis, I want to hear from you.
Initially disappointed because it was so bare bones and exactly what I expected it to be. Basically just Jurassic with a new coat of paint on it. Especially the kitchen scene, I still hate it. It's not shot for shot the same thing we got in the original movies, but at least the river raft scene was kind of fresh. The Mosasaur boat stuff was fresh. The second and third time I've seen it, each viewing has gotten sequentially better. Because like what Double D Vader said, it's
Vader, oh my god. That's my father.
Kind of get your expectations, I guess, met, or you get them tested the first time. You know what the movie is the second and third time, so you can enjoy it for what it is. And it's the JP3 of the Jurassic Worlds. If I want a taste, unfortunately, it's a bit long, but if I want a taste of the Jurassic World, I'm probably going to watch this. 6.5 out of 10 movie. And ranking wise, Jurassic Park, JP3, Jurassic World, Rebirth, and then the rest.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Jurassic World's still the better Jurassic World movie, in my opinion.
Okay. How many times did you see it?
3 times now. Once in the 3D, unfortunately. Once in the Outpost, which was sick.
Unfortunately.
D-Box is also
3D is very.
No, 3D sucks. Don't watch 3D. But if you have to do 3D, you get D-Box. Goddamn, D-Box makes the movie that much more enjoyable. Honestly, it does. It puts you right there in the action. God, I feel like a freaking corporate guy now, but
you get paid to say that.
Right there in the action.
Yeah, they got me. But yeah, it's a decent time after the first experience, and I could see how the characters come back, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay, all right, yeah, I definitely want to talk about what comes next. But before that, Caleb, how many times have you seen it now?
I've got 5 times in so far.
He's actually watching it right now. He's at a cinema.
Yeah, I've got Fandango open. I'm buying a ticket for later. So
5 times overall.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I really love it. It has. I love the Jurassic World movies, but like this has everything about those that I like, but it also has like 50% of it that's like everything I love about Jurassic Park and the tone of that. And so the mix of the two just really rules for me. And also, the more I listen to the score, I really enjoy it. It's a good time. So, yeah. Out of 10, I think I'd give it 8.9 or a 9. There are, to be clear, there are still things I like would gripe about, but like I just really enjoyed it. I have seen it in Dolby 3 times and standard twice, and so I'll say that like Dolby with the projection and the sound, it just is fantastic. It looks, the cinematography in this movie is excellent. So
Yes.
yeah,
Alex, we saw it. It was Dolby, right?
It was, yeah. It has that cool little spiel at the beginning where it's going through like sound and color, and when it's like blacker than you ever thought black could be, and the screen gets darker.
Yeah.
I like, as far as ranking goes, Jurassic Park and The Lost World, they're top 2. Rebirth and Fallen Kingdom are kind of alternating at 3 for me at the moment. And then Jurassic World and Dominion and JP3. Sorry, everyone. So.
I'm just gonna.
It's like we're all different or something. It's weird.
Okay, interesting. And okay, you told me your series ranking. I think you guys are all kind of in the same place. It feels like another JP3, but not in a bad way. It's you guys feel like it does kind of blend the Park trilogy with the World trilogy. Tonally, I don't really feel that at all. I feel like it's definitely in line with. It's just another World movie. It kind of felt like it's schlocky monster movie action. The only scene, and unfortunately it was totally ruined with the marketing, but the river raft scene, the T-Rex scene, is the only scene that I actually felt a dinosaur acting like a dinosaur, or so should I say an animal. It was actually quite refreshing to see the T-Rex take a drink and do all that before it ends up attacking them. I thought everything else was just kind of messy, and I feel like, let's talk about the screenplay, because we all had a lot of faith in David Koepp's return, coming off Jurassic Park, The Lost World, arguably the two strongest movies in the franchise. He obviously wrote them. He was back for this one, and that was a major selling point in the marketing. Do you feel like he pulled that off?
Solid no. It didn't feel like Jurassic writing. It just didn't have that fucking it felt more like a world movie. You're right. The best part, I thought they did a good job with Jonathan Bailey's character with interjecting the paleontology and the science. I thought that was pretty Koepp. I maybe Hoffenkepium. I might be wrong with that, but I never felt great with Koepp coming back. And then also with the stuff he recently said in the interviews, now the movies come out, like he had no idea what to do in a post-Dominion world. I'm like, that's pretty fucking, I guess, creatively bankrupt or something. I don't know. Maybe that's harsh, but like, you've been a screenwriter for like a million years, and you think you would understand the DNA better than anyone else, but I guess not. And then it was just not. I mean, it just wasn't written well. You know what I mean? It just wasn't.
There were a lot of dumb moments.
What I was expecting.
Stuff would happen. You'd be like, you could have, written yourself out of that. It wasn't that hard.
A lot of contrivances too. Like the family just finds the crew. There's no sort of struggle. They're just kind of yelled for a bit. It could be directing and cutting in too, but it just seems like it was too easy. Everything was too simple. everything just kind of fell into place.
Yeah, I think one of my main issues with the family on the island, as much as I love the family and I prefer them to the Zora's team, but they kind of just walk through the island without any issue. This is supposed to be the deadliest, the worst of the worst they kept here, and they just kind of make their way to the village without any trouble. And that just doesn't sell me on the fact that this island is actually dangerous.
You know what it is? It's because they cut the post-credit scene where they reveal that Dolores was the villain all along, and she like murks them all on the boat.
Fucking Dolores, the worst of the worst. Here, and then you have this little pet. Like, it doesn't add up. And
Hey,
we never even
to be fair, that line is not in the movie.
Sure.
Many lines are not in the movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Trailer 1 is not in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like a lot was lost in the edit. But I still, the whole idea is, even Krebs talks about how these were the ones that were what did he say, too ugly for the main park. And it's kind of messy in its lore. Like, which park are they even talking about at this point? I don't get it, and I feel like they don't get it either. The opening says 17 years ago, and so, but what do we actually know when Rebirth is set? So I thought it was supposed to be 2027.
5 years after
That's
Dominion.
like,
yeah.
And when was Dominion?
2022.
It was set in 2022.
Correct.
Sure.
Okay.
Listen, it's loose, but like that's where we are.
Films don't like to define when they're set, so then as soon as you start putting stuff on screen, it all gets a bit messy. The biggest point of separation is the 32 years since dinosaurs returned, because it feels like that's directed at the audience. We're now talking about us in the present day, looking back at when they returned for us, but when you're throwing up 17 years ago in terms of the universe, and then it's messy. It's just very messy. Not seen messy like this since Spider-Man Homecoming, I think.
Yeah, I don't quite understand. Jaden made a good point that maybe it should have just been Sauna, the island, because then at least fans would have been given like another chance at Sauna. We would have seen what was going on Sauna for the past so many years. We haven't seen it since 2001. Instead, we get this brand new island, which is being they tell us it's a research and development location for InGen.
But why?
Everything in there is InGen. Yeah, why? What and at which point was it a research facility for InGen? Like before the original Jurassic Park, or are we talking pre-Jurassic World? I think it's too messy.
I feel like
lines of
perhaps
dialogue.
Originally it was just JP and it was written as such. And this is very much a studio note, like, no, this can't be just a Jurassic Park movie. You've got to pull it into the world era. And that's why in the film it feels so messy. All the dialogue they only ever say like the original park and stuff like that. But it's all very clearly much more modern than that. And nothing ever gets really explained.
They also just kind of try to whitewash like Jurassic World, like that actual park a little bit, because there's the point in the Mosasaur chase where Krebs says we bought InGen after Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and it's like, didn't Masrani do that? Like that's
they bought the tracking. They bought the tracking.
They bought
stuff.
the data.
I thought
just the tracking data.
Yeah,
but that to me that doesn't make sense, because if Masrani acquired them, they would have all that. Like you don't sell it piecemeal like that.
It's still in like in Jurassic with the first Jurassic World movie. There's still InGen working behind the scenes. So like I feel like there's sort of
but not in genetics. Only military is what we're led to believe. The entire world.
Sure, but like I think it's open at the very least, probably. But like, to the whole messy point, yeah.
We are led to believe in the world movies that all the dinosaurs, except for the ones they retrieved from Sauna, all the dinosaurs at the Jurassic World Park were bred by Masrani Global.
I'd counterpoint. It's still Wu is still InGen. Like when we see him in Fallen Kingdom, all of his equipment in the lab is still branded InGen.
Isn't that because he's in an old lab?
No, because he nicked it.
Well, I feel like it's also like
from Jurassic World, and
it's a shell company. Like they're gonna have stuff that says their stuff. But yeah. On the Kep stuff, I would just say like I definitely like. I love Kep and I enjoyed the writing, but I also definitely feel like the studio notes and the edits came in and were like, you got to do this, you got to change this, and that's frustrating. But yeah,
it definitely was sold as this we have such a fantastic idea. It's the best idea we've had since the original. It's going to feel like the original, back to basics in an
You know what
awesome
the
way.
idea was? It was just to make more money.
Yeah. Seriously, and by all accounts, from what I'm seeing, again, I'm not reading too much into proper critic reviews, but just a general audience response seems to be it really is a movie that was just made to make money, made to sell toys, and I mean, what's the point of the movie? What is the actual point of the movie?
A rebirth of the franchise.
But it
Well,
doesn't
no,
do
it's
that.
also
Well,
the survival makes a lot more sense to.
From a release and like a general audience perspective, maybe you could argue we're starting another one. But yeah,
but I think the general audience was like, we're getting a bit fatigued with the world era, like especially with the response to Dominion, and then all of a sudden they rush out another one, and I was all for it, Kat, Gareth, but it for me it's a swing and a miss. It really is like just feels like a wasted opportunity that was so incredibly rushed that it's messy. The lore is messy, and fair enough, the general audience doesn't care about the lore. Which part of InGen was this? Yeah, fair enough, the general audience doesn't care, but we care, and the filmmakers should care, because that's kind of the basis of the story. So it's like, I don't really understand what happened. I don't really understand how. I feel let down with Gareth as well.
Well, Jack, we haven't heard your ranking and your number for it.
Okay, fair. I definitely put it. I enjoyed it more than any of the World movies, because it, while it doesn't feel in line with the Park trilogy, it felt more. I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't keen on the idea of a new park, so everything World going forward just I didn't enjoy it. They were very kind of childish movies, and they just sort of descended into monster movies. Whereas this one is a monster movie. I enjoyed this one more than any of the World movies, but definitely not more than Jurassic Park 3. My ranking would still be Jurassic Park, The Lost World, JP3, then Rebirth, then World, Fallen Kingdom, and Dominion. It's just Rebirth definitely jumps ahead of those.
So it is the Jurassic Park. So it is the Jurassic Park 4 in your ranking.
In my ranking, it certainly is, but it by no means is Jurassic Park 4, and that's fine. Maybe I talked myself into thinking it would be the 4 we never got, but also that Universal internal PR document thing was describing it as a sequel to the original trilogy, and it just is not that. But you're right, maybe that was what Kep had originally written. Maybe it really was, maybe the opening scene really was. Here's the thing, right? D-Rex was sold to us as this was the failed attempt of a T-Rex, and we all got behind that because that's really cool, and that's what we want to see, because they used frog DNA, right? So
where did that come from, by the way? Everyone's been saying this, but has there been an official?
I'm not
100%
sure it's I think David Vickery or somebody said that.
It's in studio notes as well.
Yeah,
I think it's been in interviews. I think Gareth said it.
Gareth said it in an Empire interview or something, where he said, this was a failed attempt at making a T-Rex, and we kind of presume, right? Well, so in the first Jurassic Park, we know they used frog DNA. So before they tried frog DNA, what did they try? That's such a great setup for this creature, but
there's no payoff.
There's no
you don't feel that in the film, and there's no payoff.
No, you don't feel sorry for it. You don't really feel anything for it.
You don't see it.
It's a Godzilla monster.
Yeah, and it gets a 5-minute scene at the end. It doesn't hunt them on the island. It's not even there. It's not present in the movie. I don't really understand why that was needed.
It gave us a cool shot though, the helicopter in the smoke. That was kind of cool.
You know what that was? But I felt like the sound design let it down just a tiny bit. You don't hear it grab this helicopter out of the air or anything. It just happens. And it's
I think they want you to think the helicopter's still flying.
Yeah, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I think the film's littered with little cool moments like that, where it's like, that's a great idea. That was a great idea. I loved the Kets coming up over the cliff with Leclerc in its mouth, lifeless. That was great. That was the one. No, maybe the second of the two. The boat coming out of the water after the T-Rex. That also made me jump. I didn't see that coming.
Oh
Anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, and
Rip away.
Dolores falling down the hill in the backpack. That got a laugh.
I feel like the whole humor is oxygen thing was used way too much and in the wrong context. I mean, feel free to just jump in and talk about whatever you want with this movie, but I'll say like Xavier, how are we saying it? How's it said in the movie?
Xavier. Yeah.
Xavier. He should have died
100%.
immediately. Should have died. It made no sense. Nobody of merit on the cast died. So there's no stakes to anything. You knew the mercenaries were going to die. You knew Atwater was going to die. He begged for his death, right? The rest of them were just cannon fodder at that point as well. None of the main characters died or faced any real repercussions for any of the actions, which just makes it boring and there's no tension.
Is it just me, or were they also quite crappy deaths from the sense that, like, guy at the beginning carried off into the fog, presumably dead, but we don't see it. Atwater, he's still alive the last time we see him. Okay, he's in the mouth of a
That was a
Spinosaur.
cool
But
death, though. I thought all the deaths were actually pretty good in this movie.
yeah,
I'm not gonna
but
lie.
I didn't like Nina.
I like them all.
The guy in the beginning, the D-Rex puts him in his mouth and carries him off.
By his head, yeah.
To me, it is kind of crazy how, like, it's a tale of two cities kind of thing with this thing. Like, there's just some of the deaths are really like Krebs' death, like getting bitten in half. That's right there. That's in your face. And then you get like Nina's death, where she's like, you don't see it actually happen. And like, I just don't understand why they're like scared to show some of them and not the others. And I would have liked to see like more with that, because it does feel like it's almost like some deaths were directed by different people.
Yeah, and that's kind of like one of the things they sold it to us as, is this, it's a return to the quote horror roots of the franchise. And there was the makeup artist Jana Carboni who said, oh, it's super gory, it's super bloody. It's like, where the
There's a lot of blood though, technically, in
not
the
really.
ocean.
Blood on the
Yeah, but it didn't even look like it was coming from the right place.
Yeah,
no, I know, but it's cool though, I guess. I respect it.
The D-Rex's mouth is dripping after it bites Krebs in half. Like,
that was a good death. The arm with the wristwatch, I loved that. I thought that was great.
Ray
that was
Arnold.
good. It was good.
Yeah.
It just seemed...
A main character needed to die though.
Yeah, it just seemed as kind of comical as the world movies in the way it did its deaths. And yeah, I would say Duncan. So Gareth did an interview post-release where he said the studio originally Duncan dies. He sacrificed himself, which makes sense, right? We learned through some of that weird dialogue on the boat that he lost his son or his child. He lost his partner because of that. In the movie, he loses his whole team and he loses his boat. He sacrifices himself for the family. So he's perfectly earned his death. And then he gets the kind of Billy Brennan cop-out where he comes back at the end and Duncan's back. And Gareth revealed that that's because the studio, when they cast Mahershala Ali, were like, you can't kill Mahershala Ali. That's just ridiculous.
I think, didn't he say they shot it both? Like the studio were like, there's not going to be any money or time for reshoots, so just get what you need to get on location. So if they shot it both ways, like you think... I don't think it worked in the edit. It doesn't make any sense. Like he just basically gets away from it. Was my take.
It immediately means that so other than Krebs, does the D-Rex kill anyone?
The guy at
the start.
The movie.
The guy 17 years ago.
The movie.
Yeah.
The D-Rex design-wise worked for me though in action. I thought it worked.
I'd come around to, you know what? I think that's why they put it in trailer 1, because it gave us enough time to get used to it by the time the film came out, so we wouldn't shit all over the design.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, Mutodons though, I don't think they've served a real purpose. That could have just been Raptors easily.
I agree with that. The winged Mutodons were possibly the worst part for me. Very unnecessary. Very monster movie. And, they did not kill a single human being. So
they got
the
raptor. Let's talk about that, by the way. Finally, let's bring the JP3 Raptor back, and then barely. I mean, the scene leading up to it was great. I was like, "Oh, cool! Fucking Raptors doing Raptor things." And then good jump scare, but immediately that was it. And then I guess they cut the other Raptor scene that was going to happen.
Yeah, the Raptor should have stayed in the gas station scene. I'll say that.
But then we learned from David Koepp one of the sort of pre-release interviews that the Raptors were at the gas station, but then the winged Mutodons arrived and chased them away. So
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Even
they
the Lego
wouldn't have
set
had much
depicts
of a
that
scene.
too.
I think, if I remember correctly, wasn't it in Empire? And didn't they get that scene screened for them? So like there was
Yeah,
a
I think
full
so.
cut of it at some point. It must have been very late in the game to go.
Presumably, we will see that on the Blu-ray. Which, Derek, is there a date for that Blu-ray?
No,
It's
they
tomorrow,
have.
isn't it?
Yeah.
They
The
have
home
like the
release though on
pre-order
digital is
thing
on
up.
August 5th.
Do you think
Yeah.
that scene was, kept trying to take things from the books that haven't been used? I was kind of hoping that it would be like the Karna scene from The Lost World, where like as soon as the lights go out, it's kind of the opposite in here. They start coming around because like the raptors were scared to go to that place in the book.
And
I was kind of
interestingly, they
hoping for
have
that.
there's that line in the film about maybe this island is deserted during the day and much more active
Yeah,
at night.
exactly.
Why does he say that? Like it's not prompted by anything. It feels like that's half the conversation. Like somebody else had just said, or earlier in the film, somebody had said like, "Oh, the village is abandoned. There's no dinos there." But
I do kind of feel like they see more of the dangerous stuff at night, I guess. But yeah,
I took it as like the lights come on at night, and that attracts the mutadons. Like it was
Also,
like
yeah.
like a
Makes
moth
sense.
to a flame.
That's kind of how I took it, but again, I agree with Alex. It did kind of feel like it came out of nowhere. I also, simple things like the family arriving virtually at the same time as Zora's team, it just feels lazy. And they're traversing across the island and
it
not
was
really...
kind of lucky they went there at all, really.
It's lucky they found it, yeah. Like, oh, lucky, look at this, we're reunited again. It's simple, I guess.
It's too simple. It's simple to its own detriment.
Yeah. We had the chance to have the JP4. We had David Kett back, who could have realigned it. We had Gareth Edwards, whose previous movies show that he kind of has the sensibilities to take on this franchise, but I don't think he did it justice. I really don't. I'm kind of disappointed in Gareth.
You got to see it again, Jack. You got to see it
Yeah, I
again.
think you have to watch it one more time, buddy.
Yeah, sure, I get it, but
you know something I didn't get the first time, still on the gas station scene, the use of "Stand By Me" I thought was random, and then the next time I saw it, I was like, "Oh, it's the lyrics. It's trying to be funny."
Yeah.
I didn't get that the first time round.
Yeah,
the moon.
You know what was good though? I thought Adrena Miranda as the little kid. I thought she was great.
Miranda was solid. Yeah, she was
Solid.
Jaden's best friend.
She was really good, actually. To be fair, yeah.
And they could have killed her off, and I thought that would have worked great too.
Strong child actor. Did you say?
I mean, they nearly did.
I mean, yeah, at the boat, like the river scene, if they killed her off, it would have been like, oh, that's kind of good. The whole reaction, like, oh, they had the balls finally.
There would have been some stakes then.
Yeah, 100%.
Didn't it seem like
Someone
the
had to
T-Rex
die.
was kind of attracted to her
Manuel
for some
Garcia
reason?
Rufo's acting when he thinks that maybe she got eaten is very good.
I liked him. He was good. I think he was written well too.
The family are all absolutely solid. Everybody that plays part in that family is great. Zora, I think Corey, you can say more on this, but she, as a character, didn't really work for me, and I felt like as a performance from Scarlett Johansson, it just felt kind of effortless.
Yeah, her character, the way that she acts in this movie just doesn't make sense to me, because there's like some extended scenes on the boat, which I agree, Jack, you said earlier, kind of comes out of nowhere, where they're talking about their past and all this, and she is playing like this, like really sad, because one person died on her last mission or whatever, and she gets so sad about it, and they're going, like, she's almost like crying, and then they hit the beach, somebody's already died, somebody else dies, and she's like, no, I want the money, we're going through this, keep going. And it's like, like, that doesn't make any sense from what you just established. So yeah, that didn't work for me.
Yeah, she was kind of all over the place as a character, and I felt like I saw somebody say that it felt like her and Mahershala Ali's character were kind of, at one point, maybe they were just one character, and that kind of would make a lot more sense because the motivations are confusing for both of those people. I felt like Mahershala Ali as a talent was just wasted in this film. He was great, but he didn't really do anything,
I wouldn't say he's wasted. I thought he definitely kept it grounded for me in a way, if that makes sense, because he wasn't like a superhero. He had a lot of the emotional reactions when his teammates died. You know what I mean? It almost felt like it was Duncan's team, and then Zora kind of just told Duncan to get a squad for the boat. You know what I mean?
I do agree
in
with
that sense, Zora did not need to be there.
No, I guess not. Technically, no. She could just been like the mission officer, I guess. and then like the rest of the dudes are the guys who get the job done. Maybe, but then like that should be explained in the movie. We shouldn't be having
Your
to do that ourselves.
Assis, your fellow bald beret wearing man. I enjoyed him.
Good break.
I would say on Zora, she works for me. I like that she's trying to buy her life back. Like she's very like damaged, like feels damaged to me, and like is pushing through it, kicking and punching through it, I guess. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed her character, but I agree on Mahershala for sure. Like I like his little Captain Ahab groundedness, but yeah, I don't know.
The problem with ScarJo's willingness to just take the money is it makes her unlikable. Like, there's if they wanted her to be like, oh yeah, I'll take the money to buy the freedom, they should have set that up at the beginning of the movie before she met Krebs.
Well, in that sense, I like that she gets to that point eventually. Like she gets there with with what happens and with Jonathan Bailey sort of pushing her in that direction. But because like she has every reason to take the money and leave and fuck all y'all, you know. But like she decides not to. So yeah.
When Bailey fell from the cliff, they should have killed off his character. I think it would have made more emotional impact and been less silly. I noticed the third time I watched it, minor nitpick, he fell like that entire distance. Great, good to go, fine, superhero. I get it. It's modern movies, but his glasses stayed on. And as a man who wears glasses, there ain't no way. It's just not. It's not possible.
Yeah, I mean, go back to Nedry falling down a slight slope in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, lost his
Loses
glasses.
Yeah, shit.
You know,
I can afford more
and also
glasses.
that
Grounded
that
filmmaking like that.
That superhero action of falling down and surviving, and the comedic timing of him popping back up, whatever, man. But them Zora and everybody else managing to make it down the bottom of that incredible.
That's like 40 stories, right? Like it was fucking tall. I don't think it was originally that tall. Like the CG, I feel like they stretched that cliff face for the action. Because
how did the visual effects work for you? Because the whole movie was, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a shot which didn't have visual effects in it, which is kind of standard now. But as soon as they get to the island, almost everything is manipulated in some way. How did that land for everybody? Because as much as it was beautiful on film for me, I was kind of sucked out by how much was just changed. It just all kind of, you could just kind of tell it was CGI. You know what I mean?
Before we do that, Sam, what were your thoughts on ScarJo? Being a massive ScarJo fan. I'm curious.
While she wasn't my favorite of the three of that side of the movie, I enjoyed her character because I find that if it had been a man in the role, a lot of these issues that you're mentioning wouldn't have come up, because it's traditionally like her character's written like traditionally like a man's role would be. You wouldn't question him at all if it was like Tom Cruise in there and he's just like,
Glenn
whatever,
Powell.
I'm taking the fucking money, like it's
Fuck me
fine.
one more time.
So I liked her. I think she had a lot of fun with the movie. And like I've told people, I think she was just like Natasha Romanoff, but less traumatized. So
Yeah.
It did seem like she was having fun. I'll give her that much. Like, I think she was she was definitely enjoyable in the movie. I just wished, as the centerpiece main actor for the movie, I wish the movie had more emotional impact with what she was doing, and not, I guess, the family being the emotional center for the movie for me.
I kind of did not feel like she was having a good time making this film.
Really?
Just her performance seemed very, I don't even know how to describe it, just very uninspired. Didn't they, to your point, Sam, didn't they originally write the role? Wasn't there an interview with Cap or Gareth where they originally wrote the role as a male character, and when they cast ScarJo, they swapped it all over, and ScarJo made a bunch of notes and stuff. I didn't get that wrong, did I? That did happen.
That happened for sure.
Yeah. Because
yeah.
I can't even remember, who were they trying to get as the main guy?
I was like, you said, what if Tom Cruise?
I think they offered it to Glenn.
and like Glenn Powell. Yeah,
Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell. Yeah. I'm like,
Glenn
no,
Powell.
I remember that. I was like, I love Glenn Powell, but I don't, their generic handsome white man leading my Jurassic movie.
ScarJo is the much better choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about Dr. Loomis then?
Best
I
character
fucking
in the
loved
movie
him.
for me. Yeah, best
Yeah,
character
solid.
in the movie for me.
So good. Like,
I
I like
no
that he was
Sorry. I was just gonna say the dialogue in the swamp is straight out of the Lost World novel about the Earth shaking us off like a cold. Great stuff.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Sam.
I would say, like, we get the nerdy part of it. He's, has all the knowledge of the dinosaurs and stuff, but he can also, like, keep up with them all. And it's not constantly like, oh, the nerdy guy has to go and do, adventure-y stuff. Like,
yeah, he's been on field digs since he was 12 or whatever he says.
Yeah.
Rock climbing wall.
Yeah, Grant shout out. And I think he had some of the best lines, and we kind of talked about this in the chat, and not necessarily that they're like the quippy quote like little one-liners, but I think he had some of the best overall like dialogue that he's delivered. Like,
he looked like he was having fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That guy, like, even when he was like, just the way he was like reacting with ScarJo and all those like, just his facial mannerisms. I was like, this guy is really selling me that this guy's having a good time. And like when he's like laughing all nervous, he's like, I'm buying it. I thought he was the best actor in the movie. I'm like, I want to see more of the guy, honestly.
Counterpoint, fuck the Altoids though.
Yes.
I like the Altoids.
I liked it. So.
I didn't like it.
It was funny, but it just lasted too long.
Yeah,
like that was the thing.
Considering like they had to cut a lot from runtime, it didn't need to be like 45 fucking seconds.
Totally.
Listen, I'm not gonna complain. They can keep it on Jonathan Bailey all day. So
I think the Altoids worked better like in the Titanosaur scene, but
The
we
jump
didn't
scare.
need a setup though in the museum. They could have cut the museum because it was already kind of, in my opinion, slow going in the first like 20 minutes of the movie. And I feel like that part of that scene was what made it like almost unbearable for me. I'm like, no, cut to the next scene. Like, please.
So it's like, so if we're thinking it's a nervous tick, if this movie was made in like the 1940s, would he just pulled out a cigarette or what?
100%. I was pulling out a pack of cigarettes the first time I saw the movie. I was like, is he gonna smoke a dart in the museum?
Yeah.
Is he my favorite character ever?
So
we get that later.
Just two things on Dr. Loomis. He was a paleontologist, although despite living in the era of the Jurassic World Park, he never has seen a dinosaur in the wild, even though they have been in the wild for quite a long time by this point, right? After
there's a Panosaur like
years.
literally a street.
Yeah,
I mean, is that really the wild?
I wouldn't like. I would counterpoint wild with natural habitat, as they say. But yeah,
no, but
it's a weak argument. The film makes the argument, but it's weak.
I liked it.
I mean, I haven't seen a tiger in the wild. I don't want to. Like,
That's
there's
true.
a difference between seeing a tiger in the zoo and a tiger.
No, I get that, but post Fallen Kingdom, there's dinosaurs all across the world at this point, and he's a paleontologist that studied underground, and he hasn't seen a dinosaur in its natural environment. Nobody's seen a dinosaur. Nobody can see a dinosaur in its natural environment because they've been brought back from extinction, right? So they're not going to be in their natural environment at all. So yeah, as Alex said, the argument's kind of silly, but it's
like Zia.
It's kind of weird. Yeah, it's like it's like Zia. Like, it doesn't really make too much sense. But my other point was, he's a paleontologist, and he referred to, and I'm surprised I'm not seeing more people, blow up.
I know what you're about to say.
Referred to a Mosasaurus and a Quetzalcoatlus as a dinosaur, and I've been riddled in comments for calling them dinosaurs. They're not dinosaurs, so what the hell is a paleontologist calling them that for?
Can I offer a counterpoint? So the reason listen, I think it probably like bugs me, and it does, but like I think colloquially, when you're speaking about this group of animals, I think it can be passable. And
a paleontologist, really?
But he's speaking to non-paleontologists, and
he's a cool guy. He's woke.
Well, like what I'm saying is like if we're doing it colloquially, if you want to describe the whole group of animals that are out in the world now, okay. If you're doing it educationally, let's be specific. But yeah,
I think
that's
it
my
probably would have been a good, like, I accept that as an excuse for why he does that. I think that's probably the best way to think about it. I think it would have been better writing is for like Krebs or somebody in the team to say, yeah, let's go get all these dinosaurs, and him correcting them and
yeah.
no, they're not dinosaurs. Just like a quick moment of him be like, not dinosaurs or something like that.
That's kind of the humor that I'm expecting out of Jurassic, less than the Altoids thing, and less him getting it wrong to me is either, to me it just screams bad writing at that point, because I feel like you wouldn't make a paleontologist say that. But it's a fair argument, Caleb. I get it.
That's valid.
Jonathan Bailey was strong. I really liked his performance. I liked his character. Probably one of the best characters since Paul Kirby.
There's a lot to like about Jonathan Bailey, isn't there?
Yes.
Great actor, man.
Absolutely.
He's good shit.
He is a really good actor. I think Alex said a really good point though. Why did they make two fantastic British actors play Americans when there was no real reason to? Krebs,
that's part of the series.
Dr. Loomis as well. Loomis, the name is an inherently British name, so it is a little odd.
It's weird when the franchise has always been happy to have like just British people randomly sprayed throughout, like Ludlow and
Well, Grant's not a native. I mean, he's native English speaker. What's like the thing? What's like he's a not North American accent guy.
Yeah, he's Australian. Well, he's from New Zealand.
New Zealand.
New Zealand. So,
well, even Mills, I think that actor is British too.
Yeah.
Rafe Spall. Yeah. He is.
And Toby Jones is British too, isn't he?
Oh shit! Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Toby Jones.
I
That's
love
whitewashing British
accents.
Well, I mean, if you're British in a Jurassic movie, you tend to die. So maybe
that's why they did it. He was good. I want to go back to the family though. I think one of the negatives I have is that I said before, Xavier. How are we pronouncing it?
Xavier. Yeah, Xavier.
I think
Xavier.
With an X or a Z, either one works pronunciation wise.
Xavier.
A stoner boyfriend.
Javier.
I enjoyed his arc, and I enjoyed the relationship with the father that kind of grew through it, and the bit of respect they gained, or the father gained for him. I liked that, and I thought his little arc was nice. However, when he went off to pee, he should have died. The raptors should have slaughtered him. There should have been no winged mutadons. The raptors should have killed him, and I feel like we should have had an extended scene where he was getting basically slaughtered but trying to run away. Maybe they ripped an arm off. He kept going, trying to hide.
God damn!
The raptor was absolutely destroying him, and his final scream in the distance wakes up the daughter, wakes up Audrina Miranda, wakes up the father, and she's like, shit, we gotta go get him. The father knows instinctively he's dead. We gotta keep moving. And then you have this conflict between the family from that point forward, instead of them just continuing as a lovely group with a pet dinosaur on their way to the village. I feel like Xavier dying would have given a lot more tension to everything that happened on that island, and also his character could have died perfectly, didn't need to survive.
Mm.
No one needs to survive, Jack.
Survival is a long shot. We gotta get the tagline in this podcast at least once. When he's peeing or not peeing because he's holding it, but like, sorry to say that on a podcast, but
they wrote it in a Jurassic movie, so
he gets hit in the back with like a piece of viscera or something, like a piece of
he like flinches, doesn't he?
Saliva,
I think something that, even if he doesn't die, I think it would have given it more weight if he would have at least told someone what happened. Like, he doesn't even tell anybody.
100% that scene was a reshoot. They definitely that wasn't that, it was replacement for the gas station scene. So I think they're probably to put it into other scenes following on would have been too
tough to get in. But it
does, because he does say at the gas station, like, oh no, not that thing.
Oh, so he does say, he does say not that thing again.
He does,
he does say that.
He references it.
There could, I think, maybe a little more dialogue would have helped, but I don't know.
But also, like, he turns around like so it's already flying off when he turns around and sees what it is. So it was I didn't think that he would even see it at all. Like he would just see something flying away, right?
It's
and
dark. He's probably stoned.
Yeah. So when he's like point, immediately recognizes it.
First weed mention in a Jurassic movie. Have to get that in here.
Like, could have been done better. Wasn't happy with it.
It was so first watch. I was like, wow.
It was quite drawn out again, though, wasn't it? Like it wasn't just they didn't just make the joke. He kept it going for like.
It wasn't funny to me. It was awkward.
It's a little damp, you know. So
I did like him asking Audrina Miranda. Isabella? Yeah. Isabella.
Yeah.
I did like him asking, "Do you smoke?" Like that was a funny part.
That was just a stupid stoner thing to say.
Exactly. Yeah.
I will say though, now that we're touching on that scene, and before we move on, the one thing I didn't like about the pacing is they have the raptor scene followed directly by the Titanosaur long grass scene, and people in my audience were like, "Mama, like, oh shit, it's long grass." People like the audience isn't that stupid. They know what long grass means in Jurassic. So I found that scene kind of anticlimactic and it drawn out to get to the point, I guess, essentially.
Yeah.
It was overly long, the Titanosaur scene.
I feel like the peeing sequence felt to me like a dream sequence. I thought for a second we were in a dream.
Alan, you just what you hearing from behind you.
I might went there too.
Hey, it's really JP3 at that point.
Yeah, seriously.
The two raptors debating how to pronounce Javier as Xavier.
Javier, yeah. That's it. I genuinely thought it was a dream sequence because it just plays very comedically, but it's not really. This movie once again made, in the few seconds they were on the screen, once again made the raptors not threatening, and I was frustrated by that. I feel like the raptors got done dirty in this movie, and it was as Assis mentioned before, the winged Mutadon scene in the gas station. That was the perfect opportunity for the Velociraptors, the ones we saw in Jurassic World 3, slightly evolved, maybe different, to be restored to the original. Like, the Velociraptors are scary. Remember them from the first trilogy? The World movie raptors weren't scary. They were a different breed. It was all very unthreatening. And I feel like this was such a great time to restore the audience's, memory of what was terrifying, and to be like, it doesn't have to be a hybrid. It doesn't have to be something crazy. Dinosaurs can kill you, and they just didn't do it. They had winged Mutadons which couldn't kill a child again. So it's like the Indominus Indoraptor chasing Maisie and just like flopping around the building while Maisie gets away. It's the same thing. Audrina Miranda's character just survives. Everybody just survives the winged Mutadons.
Plot armor.
Yeah, and
it's too much. The more cast you have with these movies, it ruins the tension. It really does, because at the start of a tense sequence, you know that, okay, who are my main characters? Blah 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 blah. Okay, they're all going to survive, obviously. It just it's too much. You know, if it's a family, they're good to go. You know, if it's going to be the lead main two characters, you know they're good to go. There's no stakes in these movies anymore. It's really
that's why Xavier should have died, because that point forward, you
Xavier and or Duncan. Like, literally, someone had to die.
The father might die. Isabella might die. Teresa might die. Like, you suddenly put that threat out there, even if they don't die, even if they all survive. From the point of Xavier dying, you would have had that threat, but it just is never there. And, my girlfriend made a really good point. They did just walk through the island without really encountering anything. And it's true. There's just no threat to them, and then they get to the village at the same time, and it's like, haha, we're all here now for the big end.
There's even like Scarlett had a line there, and like, not to rag on her or anything, but it just felt like really weird delivery where she literally went like, yay, you made it, and like
yeah,
seriously, dude, it's been a real shit day.
Yeah.
another acting point I want to mention up, the person who plays, I think, Teresa, like the oldest daughter,
Luna Blaze.
I thought she did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
especially during the river act stuff. I thought it was like, yeah, she was damn good in that scene. I thought that was like really standout. I thought that was good Jurassic right there. That shit was good, quality stuff.
I thought her acting was great. I thought her decisions, the writing there was bad, because dragging that raft and then unfurling it right beside a T-Rex is the dumbest thing.
Her dad,
I just can't.
her
fathom it.
dad and Xavier like try to get her not to.
Just like stop.
Like,
In fairness, we cut to like, and this, I think me and Jack talked about this. There's a sign on the side of the bag that says "Do not
Inflate
inflate
on
in
land."
water,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
inflate
It'll
on land,
sink.
otherwise
It'll
it'll sink."
sink.
But it's
Yeah.
on the side of the bag facing away from her. So whilst we read it, like she didn't see it ever.
Yeah. And
a fun thing in
It was
that
good.
sequence, if you just keep following the oars the whole way through, they just keep magically reappearing where they need to. So they're attached to the bag. As the raft inflates, the bag gets sucked off into the water with the oars. But then when she goes across, the oars are in the boat. And then later on, I don't know where they fucking go, but the boat, they're still in the boat at the end of the T-Rex, like fucking it up for. They're magic oars.
When
Continuity.
when the raft flips up and then falls down and the T-Rex is gone, every viewing that has gotten like a reaction from the audience. They're like, "Oh shit!"
Mm-hmm.
So,
honestly,
There's
the
some good
T-Rex,
tension building in this movie.
the T-Rex looming behind them and then taking a drink and everything, you get a real sense of scale. That was genuinely such a great scene.
Coming towards the raft, like getting lower and lower, right down to eye height, was
And
great.
then all of that. Yeah, I just love it when the T-Rex clocked them, like when it turned and actually saw them and it stood there for a few seconds. Like
It was very animalistic, like you mentioned, Jack. It was like, wow, that's what an animal would do. It'd be like, what the hell is what is this?
Yeah.
It's like checking it out, and then it's like, okay, got to go, game time. It was
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
That
exactly.
whole sequence was really good. Really
I
good
like
stuff.
that. I'm obviously disappointed by the marketing because it really did spoil everything about that scene.
Yeah, they even spoiled the whole like raft reveal, like when the Rex disappears, like you were saying, like days before the movie came out, they held that bag and then suddenly they spoiled that. I'm like, are you kidding me? Luckily, I had already seen it at that point at the Monday screening.
And I think we are in a unique position because obviously with Outpost, but also just being Jurassic fans, we do most of us try to watch everything because we're just so excited for it. So we are in that unique position. A lot of the general audience may not have seen that reveal. They probably saw trailer 2, but they don't follow too much, so they didn't see all the TV spots that showed every single fucking shot from it. But for us, I do feel
maybe the next film we all just go to like Sierra Nevada, build a cabin, no internet. We just wait as soon as they announce it. We just wait it out for like 2 years.
Literally an outpost. That's what we're built on.
Yeah. Check into the real Outpost because we're gonna need it. Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk VFX.
Say again.
You want to talk VFX still? Like I thought the VFX overall, aside from some of the plate shots, dinosaurs themselves look pretty damn fucking solid. In almost every single shot, I couldn't think of one shot where I was like, "Oh, I was taken out." By like, for example, back in the day, shots of Blue. Not in this case.
Oh yeah, the
Blue in Fallen Kingdom, that shot where she smiles at the camera. That one.
Gosh, yeah. Listen, I love Fallen Kingdom, but yes, the shot of when Manuel is in the ocean, he gets hit by the sail or whatever. I'm bad with boating terms.
The mast.
He gets hit by the mast. Thank you. And the mosasaur is just full in the background. That shot is very, very good.
All of the underwater stuff was gorgeous. You know what? Actually, let's talk about the family introduction. So that I saw so many notes before it came out, like the family come out of nowhere. It's like 40 minutes in, and all of a sudden you've got the family. I didn't feel like that at all. The first half flied by for me, but in a really enjoyable pacing kind
really
of way.
Good way.
Got to meet the characters, slow build up to the island. I really like that. And when we meet the family, I was like, oh yeah, all right, they're close to the island. This is gonna be good. And I really enjoyed everything on the sailboat. I don't really care for the Mosasaurus, but seeing it act like an animal, sort of scrape the boat, that was all done so well. Seeing the Spinos in the distance, you get a sense like, well, they're doing that joint thing. I really liked all of that. And then the whole boat attack, the tension in that was there, to be fair.
Fuck yeah.
I really did like that. And I didn't feel like the family came out of nowhere. But I do wonder if that family attack would have made a better opening.
Yeah. I think
I would have liked to have had them join the group a little later. So perhaps seen the group go after the Mosa first and get their sample and be like, yeah, fuck, we're 1 out of 3. And as a consequence of them aggravating it, it then attacks the sailboat. Just to kind of show.
Alternatively, you put that as the opening sequence, and Xavier throws a Snickers wrappers overboard, and then that starts the whole movie.
Oh, we didn't even mention that. What is going on with the inciting incident?
I like the.
Don't
No, you
litter.
don't. No one likes the idea that a Snickers bar. And then why did the computers all shut down? Because the Snickers bar. What's going on here? Come on, come on.
It was Windows Vista. I mean,
oh, you gotta give me something more than this.
Reboot.
That's a little bit bullshit writing.
This is a reboot, and the computers reboot. So
that's just bad writing.
I know I said in our group chat that like I'd have preferred. I'm fine with that sort of thing happening, but like if it had just been a case that the door was like cycling that last 3 inches or something, like it wouldn't close, it was just trying to over and over again, and like human intervention, someone had tried to override it or something, not realizing that they were doing A, B, C, and D,
like
would have been
in
a
the
lot
Lost
better.
World with the guy who picks up the doors on the boat, and the guy. Pick it up, or is it, no, so some
the control,
dude, right?
It's the guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Alex, you said something to me that I think would have been really great, which is that like in the opening scene, maybe they should have made a comment to the guy about the Snickers bar, like those things will kill you, man, or something. Like that would have been funny.
It would have been great, right?
Yeah.
It does. That whole following the Snickers wrapper and stuff. You know, just before we saw the movie, we went to that Universal Barbican event thing, which was silly, but they gave us a Snickers bar at the end, and
we got a tote bag, a notebook, and a Snickers bar.
And I was like, okay, I wonder what the Snicker bar get blended with the T-Rex DNA to make the D-Rex. I was like, is that what it is? But it plays out like a Final Destination setup gag kind of thing, and I was just a bit like, it didn't quite land for me, and I didn't quite understand why the entire system of computers just went into shutdown.
It just shows to me that Kep didn't have an idea, man. He literally felt like a Hail Mary toss by Steven Spielberg in hindsight. Now that I've seen the movie, it was like, we gotta change course. Hail Mary. Fucking Kep. And Kep always said after number 2, he doesn't have any more ideas for the franchise, and I guess it really shows now.
Yes.
In defense of the Snickers bar, I will say this: there is in a different. What?
Are you an advocate for big Snickers?
No. I wish. I wish I was getting that money. But no, there is precedent in the books for a or for just like a candy wrapper causing problems, because I know that was in the context of like somebody dropped a candy bar out of the high and the raptors smelled it, and that's what caused them to look up and see it. There is context for like candy bar stuff doing that. There's also like candy bars in the Lost World, the movie, when they're in the tent and they're hiding all that shit away. So it's there, but I would have liked it to be more like dinosaur focused than technology focused for causing the problems.
The Snickersaurus Rex.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be. I was like, oh, the T-Rex is part T-Rex, part Snickers. But
well, in the Collider interview, I think Gareth said that he actually came up with that opening. Like originally, that opening in the lab wasn't there. Maybe that's what I think.
It was different at the very least. Yeah.
So it was kind of like
the opening scene. It was one of the better parts. Like I love, who hasn't wanted to see a functional InGen lab, that kind of thing, you know, and go back in time, a little bit of a prequel. Like, yeah, that was all really cool. However, with the helicopter fly in, you didn't see who got off the helicopter, so I guess that becomes irrelevant. But I think they could have expanded that scene, so maybe it's an exec of InGen or whoever, Masrani or whatever. The law's messy, but comes in on the helicopter, lands, we see them get off, they look at the facility, and then they go into the lab, and then we have that lab sequence, and they become.
It can be a lot more motivated than it was. It's just this happens, then this happens, and this
just
happens.
Like,
it's not a journey.
The helicopter shot in. Okay, that's the Jurassic fans happy.
Tick.
The helicopter shot done, and then we're immediately into the lab. You don't really know anyone, which is fine. It's just an opening scene, but it just plays out very quickly, and then. The only questions I came away with was like, why did they go in there in the first place if that was where the D-Rex was? Like, what? So
when I watched it again, there's a bunch of stuff like packed into the background dialogue. So they're talking about the hybrids and how like this iteration has failed. So I think that's in reference to the Mutadons or whatever. Okay. They're talking about the D-Rex and how they're using it to do like trials and stuff on it. So they're experimenting on it. I guess using it as like a dino guinea pig or something like that. I can't think if there was anything else.
It just seems a bit not well thought out because again, it's something I mentioned before, is that we were told this was potentially the D-Rex was potentially a failed attempt at making a T-Rex, and I love that idea. You know, seeing this deformity and seeing like it's got issues, it's got problems, but none of that was really explored. And the opening is 17 years ago, so it's obviously not the original park. And I know people have said, you know, well, no, it could have been a dinosaur that's existed for so many years and they've been keeping it alive in this lab. But I feel like that's messy to the general audience who probably just think
it doesn't come across.
I think if it was like the lab was around for the original park, that doesn't necessarily mean that D-Rex was created then. It could have been created like 5 years before this incident, or 10 or something.
But why, when you know how to make a T-Rex?
No, I know, yeah. But
cloned a T-Rex.
I think it holds up that the D-Rex was... It's messy. Like, do one thing, don't do both, is the whole...
With Krebs' dialogue about what they're doing for the theme park and stuff, to me it feels like a lot of this stuff was on the way to the Indominus and the Indoraptor, but like it would be very cool if that was more fleshed out. So, yeah.
It's when you look at the tanks, it even says on the Mutadon that it's a raptor hybrid, but then next to it you've got a Triceratops that doesn't say hybrid but has two heads. Like, did you guys just forget how to make a regular Triceratops? What happened?
That could have just been a genetic malformation when they were creating it or something. I was going to say something else that's on a different topic, so I'll wait. But yeah.
Well, Krebs says near the beginning of the movie that it was a facility for the original park. Like, that's in the movie. But then later on at the beach, that's when he mentions the whole, the park makers, you know, are trying to, you know, impress
It's a rehash of like Claire's speech from Jurassic World in a way.
Yeah.
A bit.
So it sounds like it's both, which is like, what? Like, why make it so convoluted? Just make it be world then.
Because in the trailers, they definitely sell it to you as the original Jurassic Park, you know.
Well, and in the movie.
Yeah. Okay, great. We're going.
They gotta tie it to the whole franchise, you know.
But
yeah, I think this is just
because you feel like the filmmakers just don't really care at that
it's
point.
Changes through production and things are just not getting carried across. I really would bet Kep's first draft didn't reference Jurassic World at all. It was all Jurassic Park focused, and you know, it's studio notes muddying the water, and convoluted is exactly the right word, Derek. Like, nothing gets explained, and I don't think the general audience really care that much, but obviously we do.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
But that's the thing. The filmmakers should care too.
Yeah.
You know, the general. I said it at the beginning. The general audience doesn't care, and that's understandable because at this point they are just going to the movie like it's a Final Destination movie. It's just another big monster movie. But the original fans care about that kind of detail, and the filmmakers absolutely should. And like Alex, you're always talking about the interview or the sort of like production note videos with Spielberg and Kep way back. Jurassic Park and the Lost World, and the amount of depth that they go into to establish
it's crazy. It's little decisions.
What InGen we're up to, like, and now it just none of that matters. It's just another
studio gets in the way.
Yeah, but I'm not even. I'd love to read Kep's first draft because I would love to know if any of that was.
Should we New York heist anybody?
Yeah,
he lives in New York, right?
I mean, yeah, we were talking about that, weren't we? New York heist.
Someone needs to hack his email like they did Spielberg's to get that Jason Paul script back in the day.
Well, like even the opening text, like after the prologue, and it's like it feels like 30 seconds of text, but then we get most of that information visually in the movie, like that little animated sequence in the
should have
museum,
just been that
especially.
sequence. Just nothing else should have just been that sequence.
Yeah. That would have been perfect, and it was right there. That was what was so frustrating. Like they have it there, but they didn't use it fully. They just kind of glaze past it anyway. And
show don't tell.
My only counterpoint is that those with the music and just black with words on the screen makes it quite ominous for me. And then you juxtapose it with painting over a Parasaurolophus, and so it's, I don't know. But yeah, I would have liked Jurassic does its little cartoon explanations in good ways, so that would have worked.
Some people joke that, Gareth just wants to pay another homage to Star Wars and have a text crawl in the beginning.
He didn't do it in Rogue One.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, I guess they didn't.
Well,
now he finally got one.
To be fair, and this is completely separate, I saw an amazing fan teaser for Rogue One where it starts the crawl from A New Hope, and then the music just cuts out and the crawl stalls, and like this sinister track plays, and we sort of pan around it, and it works so well. I'd love to have seen that for Rogue One.
Jurassic Park, Episode 7, Rebirth.
Oh God.
It has been
Oh yeah,
32
again, when you
years
talk
since
about the
dinosaurs
title.
returned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like why is this movie called Rebirth beyond the marketing explanation? You know what I mean? Like in the movie.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that.
It's a message to us. It's supposed to say it's a course correction. That's, you know.
Honestly, like, and if you want to find a meaning in the movie, because like I don't know if I really know why Fallen Kingdom is called Fallen Kingdom, like why. But you could argue that like it's, you know, dinosaurs taking over or whatever. But like Rebirth, maybe you tie it to like ScarJo trying to like restart, like buy her life back, or you, I don't know, you give a rebirth to
Why
humanity
did she
with the
need to
heart
buy her
drug,
life
but
back?
because
What did she do
Exactly.
that
What
money was going to
is it?
fix?
well, listen, in the world we live in, money fixes a lot, but like I feel like just after everything she's been through, she's trying to just buy freedom to not have to do these jobs anymore, not have to watch people die. But
Fallen Kingdom was called Fallen Kingdom because the kingdom of the dinosaurs on Jurassic World on Nublar falls, right?
That's how I thought of it.
That's a good argument, yeah, for sure.
Ancient Futures was a much better title for that.
That's a cool title.
We don't need to go there. Rebirth, I do agree, it makes no fucking sense as a title. And was it Survival? Is that what the original title was? I mean, also, it's become a very generic title in terms of Jurassic, but it works a lot better because they're all trying to survive, right?
What question do we feel like this movie asks, if any? I've always felt that's been a Jurassic trope. The first one, you know, if we could do this, should we?
It doesn't ask any questions. I
Nope.
said that's the problem with it. It doesn't have a point of existing other than to be another Jurassic World movie to make a load of money for the studio and to sell
Dude,
loads
the
of toys.
only reason this movie happened so quick to flash to bang is because of what happened to Fast and Furious and how they kind of lost track and fell off the release date for this year. It's the only reason why Jurassic was like pumped out.
To fill a hole.
Blade got canceled, and so we got Mahershala Ali. We had to jump on it.
Yeah.
Well, I think Survival would have been a better title because of Jonathan Bailey's scene where he's
Survival's a long
quoting
shot,
The Lost
baby.
World.
Listen,
like that would have felt like a point.
The video game is what killed the title.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, seriously.
A video game that's never gonna happen.
Yeah, the video game's been cancelled again.
How many times can we say? Yeah.
I wrote something.
I bet you kept listening to our podcast where we said don't call anything Survival because it will get cancelled, and just immediately red pen through his title like, we're not calling it that.
I did write a couple of notes before we jumped on, and the very top of my list is what was the point? What can anybody answer that question? What was the point of the movie?
What was the point of Jurassic Park 3?
Fun.
I mean,
to make money.
I agree. The first two are the only ones which have any real themes or points to them, like questions posed.
That's why they're the weakest, arguably, in the franchise.
I think the point is maybe less
the
explicit. But like on the latest viewing, the Science is for Everyone really hit me hard. And I think maybe there's a battle in the movie between using science for money, and it's a classic Jurassic thing. But like using science for money or using science for like actual human benefit. And so there's less philosophizing about it. But
it's a really good point.
Yeah.
But again, and I think this is true of basically like everything. There's so much in this movie, but it just doesn't do enough with any individual component. It's very superficial level, doesn't take any depth, doesn't carry anything forward throughout the film. I don't think the is it the rule of weapons or something like that? You get presented with something in the first act and it's going to come back in the third. Like that just doesn't happen at all.
Except maybe the science is for everybody. We should open source this cure. and then on the boat, it's like, I think we should
It's
give
just
it
so
to
lazy.
Probably
everyone.
drop
Hey,
Kex off the boat by
congratulations.
accident.
I
Like, they've got a
mean,
long way to go.
you could argue. I mean, the D-Rex is what the D-Rex is, and like there are lots of thoughts about it. But you could argue that it's in the beginning, and then it comes back later, and there are things to be taken from that. Perhaps we've in the beginning, it's in this nice facility, it's living the high life, it's eating Snickers, and then at the end of the movie, like it's suffered on this island for 20 years. So like I don't know, maybe there's something to take from
It's
that,
been
but
feasting on
I don't know.
Titanosaurs, I guess. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
it's
so fucking
eating.
many of those horny
There's so
fucks.
many.
That's why those guys are alive.
I will say that this one did science better, I think, than the original Jurassic World, because like
Yeah.
the explanation they give on why we need the DNA from these dinosaurs, they're bigger, and they're we're looking at their heart muscles. That actually made sense more than a lot of the science did. In
Jonathan Bailey was, as ScarJo says in the movie, he was just the perfect nerd. Like,
didn't expect it to come from him either. Like, you wouldn't have called him being the one to explain the drug science, but it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the living dinosaur part too. It's like, oh, because the hemoglobin goes away. I'm like, oh, it's fucking genius. It makes sense.
Yep.
I liked it. It's good. No,
I also like that they pivoted from a cure to more of a treatment. I think he even said it would just extend lives. It wouldn't save lives, and that made it
20 years.
Yeah. I think my issue with that though is that there's no real urgency to the mission, as in, like, we all know heart disease is a thing, and it's a major killer, but it's not any different now than it was. Well, maybe it is. We won't go there. But it's
there's
not.
No timeline on this. They could have pushed it back a week.
There's no urgency because humanity is not on the brink. Like, oh, we need to send a really small team in and get these samples now. If Krebs's pockets were as deep as he said, and if he really needed this cure and wanted it for his pharmaceutical company, then he would have sent a military team in, a mercenary.
Well, he said confidentiality is why he didn't, but that doesn't really make. I don't buy that.
They could have just slaughtered. They knew these people were going to die at the hands of these dinosaurs. They could have sent a team in for each individual species instead of being like.
And they could have just like not.
Small group.
They could have been shady and just left people behind on the island.
Exactly. Once they got the cure, but instead there's no urgency. Therefore, I don't really buy this. Like, we
should have been DX disease, baby.
This should have been DX.
Yeah.
Is
similar
there any
to
Jurassic movie that has urgency like that though?
Say again, Corey.
Is there any Jurassic movie that has that kind of urgency?
The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah, The Lost World.
Dominion.
But you're talking about it on a global scale, and I don't.
No, I just mean in this. But that's the point of this movie, is that I'm saying there's no urgency to their mission. That in the point of the movie is to try and get this cure for heart disease or this extendment of life. That's not what The Lost World is about. The Lost World is like a rescue mission at that point to get Sarah back from the island, while there's that team of people trying to get dinosaurs off the island. It's completely different. But in this, like, if humanity had been on the brink, we all pondered if like DX would be a thing in this movie.
Dino COVID.
Then they need
that COVID ruined it. That's the thing.
I don't think COVID ruined it. I think Planet of the Apes ruined it. I think they got there first.
No, I just think bad writing ruined it.
Similar to this,
enough, and then there's no point to any of that of this rush to get the samples. There's no need for it to be.
I think rushed. Jack. I think the lack of rush is probably because if they're actually truly a standalone sequel, if this is like the only time we see these characters, which would be kind of cool, then it kind of makes sense. Like, this is just a one-off in the timeline. You know what I mean? Like, there's no rush. Like, this is what it happened to be.
Danger. They didn't need to put themselves in that kind of danger. And also the land, Real News Hawaii made a good point about the land scene and how it's like the land dinosaur, should I say, and it's a Titanosaurus, and there's no consequences to that scene. It's not scary. It's not hard to get. It's such a simple sample to get. The D-Rex probably should have been the one they needed the sample for of land-based animals, because then you set up this, they're trying to hunt the D-Rex. Well, actually, it's been hunting them this whole time. That's immediately better than it just rocking up at the end. You don't know where it's been the whole time. It's not fast. It's not a threat. It's not scary in any way, really. It's just like a monster, and it didn't do anything in that regard.
We needed a constant threat.
It should have been the land sample one, I think. The Titanosaur was just, it was a weak attempt at making us be like, remember the Brachiosaurus scene, especially.
I've got a thought on that, but I think Caleb is desperate to say something.
I was
I'm
just
gonna
gonna
fall off
say.
this.
I
I just
forget
have to
you don't
say
have the
that.
button, Kayla.
Yeah, I don't have the button. Sorry. My hand is just on my face. So I feel like the motivation, just like in the real world with the production and release of this movie, where the motivation was money, I think the urgency of the motivation in the movie was money for a lot of people. But it becomes danger at some points. But yeah,
But that's not really.
I know what you mean.
I get what
Yeah,
you're saying,
I
but
know
that's
what you mean.
not really the argument I'm making. It's more that like there's no reason for any of them to have put themselves in that level of danger. They could have.
I guess maybe Jack. I guess the urgency was supposed to come from, oh, the helicopter's coming in like a day and a half.
Oh,
We
so
gotta.
fucking convenient. We've got 48 hours until the
I
helicopter
think
arrives.
that's what the
If they have
urgency
a
was
helicopter,
supposed to
why
be.
didn't they just go to the island in the fucking helicopter?
What was their plan when they got there? Like, they didn't take any vehicles. Were they just gonna walk to wherever they need to? It's a big island.
Walk through. We'll just walk it. Yeah, it's fine. This island's tiny. I don't. It's just silly. It doesn't make any sense. It's like half-ass writing at that point.
It feels like JP3 in that sense, but like JP3 didn't have a finished script, so it makes me wonder how rushed this movie was.
What was changed? Yeah.
Maybe we'll get that draft on the Titanosaur scene, and this is like only a thought I feel like I've had like the last couple of days. It never occurred to me before. There's always this big thing about trying to recreate the feeling of the Brachiosaur scene from JP. And I feel like it's a mistake because people misinterpret where the value in that scene was. That was the big coming out for CGI. It was a big wow moment for us as the audience. You can't recapture that because we've seen it 100 times since. It's never going to make us feel as wow again. I think if you're going to try and do a real heart-bending scene, take a look at the sick trike and how the impact that has and how much character work you're able to do throughout that scene as well. Could have been a much more interesting sequence.
We were waiting. Samantha has something to say.
Goodness.
She didn't have her hand on her head. That's what she should have done. That.
I did the virtual hand. Yeah, I just do this instead. No, for the Titanosaurus. Yes, I agree with trying to get back to the Brachiosaurus feeling. But I also liked that they were just kind of doing their own thing, like being in nature, and I really love that they put like the birds landing on them. I felt like more like a nature kind of show. I really did think we were going to see dinosaurs boning for a second, and I was not prepared to see that. But
that's why there's so many of them.
That's all they do. What else are you going to do on that island, man?
Yeah, apparently Kep wrote it that way first. So
yeah, I was bracing myself in the theater.
Bankrupt.
Kep has lost it, man. He's lost his mind.
I think his quote and whatever that came out of
Kep's
was
been
like
huffing the Capium too much.
Aliens in a temple in Indiana Jones? Yeah, crazy.
They said there's 8 legs between them and only 6 were on the ground or something like that.
That should have been the tagline for the movie.
That's a great sentence. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Anyway, to continue that, I like Jonathan Bailey. Jonathan Bailey
in that scene crushed it.
Jonathan Bailey getting to see the Titanosaurus and go up and touch it, and his reaction and his acting in that part.
And the leg looked damn good.
Yeah.
That was good skin.
And maybe emotional.
I like
that
the music starts when it starts walking. Like it works really well.
I think it works really well too.
I didn't.
I think that's until the John Williams theme came in.
I liked the Dr. Loomis thing, but I just thought the use of the John Williams theme was just such a cop out. It was
a little too forced.
Maybe it is a cop out, but it fucking for me in the context of the scene, it still worked.
I loved it.
I get that. It did not work for me. I just thought
interesting.
Was immediately pulled out like, oh, here we go again, just trying to force that feeling from the first film.
I wanted that music back because we didn't get it at all in the other Jurassic Worlds, really. And that's when they started playing it again. I was like, yes, this is what I want to hear.
I thought the soundtrack was fantastic in this movie. Finally.
My favorite John Williams Jurassic Park drop in the movie, perhaps. I love the Titanosaur scene, but I love when we have a plane flying through Jurassic Mountains into Suriname, and it's the Jurassic Park theme. I was like, yes, this is where this needs to be. But
I don't know. I'd have preferred it on the island. I think.
Me too. I think
Like,
it's an island
I
scene.
really
It's
thought
island theme.
that track was going to come over the opening, and that kind of like trail off was going to be as we then went subterranean into the lab. I was super surprised when it wasn't there.
Oh yeah.
Kayla, what were your thoughts on Alexandre Desplat?
So first viewing, the sound kind of sucked, and so I was kind of like, uh-oh. But because I was worried that like they didn't mix it high enough or whatever. But on subsequent viewings, I've really loved it. I think that in the movie it really kicks in for me when the mosasaur scene starts, and it reminds me of Jaws, because in Jaws we're going off to capture this deadly creature that's been eating people, and yet when we're floating away from the dock, it's like swashbuckling adventure music, bum 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 bum,
They're on a
and
mission.
that it feels that way a little bit in the mosasaur scene. Like it feels
An
like
adventure.
Jaws. And so, but I really enjoy a lot of moments in it. When the Spinosaur attack, when the boat is getting clobbered and we realize that we're about to crash land on the island, the music there is pretty fantastic. Very ominous. Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to even listen to the full thing isolated yet. But like I feel like there's some really good themes and motifs in there. The D-Rex it's there's a little motif that's pretty scary that's used mostly with the D-Rex, but he uses it also with the T-Rex in the raft
Talking
scene a
about the
little bit.
guttural fucking.
Yeah, the low bottom
Yeah, I love
that
that.
Yeah.
that
Great.
thing.
That was great throughout the movie.
Yeah, and it feels. I mean, it feels functionally like the carnivore motif in Jurassic Park a little bit. Just a sort of a scary, simple musical thing that you hear every time there's big jaws around. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the score, and it's. I will say, talking about how we feel about Jurassic World and everything else, this is orchestrated so much more like John Williams. Giacchino does his own style and his own thing, and it's referential to John Williams, but it sounds like Giacchino. This, from like a construction of the orchestra perspective, sounds like a bit more like John Williams. So, yeah.
It feels like a Jurassic Park soundtrack more than a Jurassic World soundtrack. There's an audible difference between the two.
Yeah, well, and not to get too, into the music nerd shit, but like lots more there's lots more woodwinds prominently here, and that's very much a John Williams thing. Yeah, it definitely feels like more like John Williams, and that's not a knock on Giacchino from me, but it definitely feels that way. So
plus Jonathan Bailey doing the solo, that's pretty cool.
I love that
we
little
we
fact.
gotta bring that up. Yeah, it's fantastic. He's what a talented human being. Like, what else can you do? Like, crazy, but awesome.
Stunts.
Yeah. So, anyway, I can talk
What's
more
next
about
up, Zach?
but
Well, I agree.
Oh, let's talk about the future. Where's this
Yes,
franchise
future.
going? Do we need these characters back or not?
Oh, I'm not done criticizing this movie yet. So
Oh shit!
one thing that
Tell us what you really think, Jack.
one thing that annoyed me, and I think a few
Just
of you-
one?
I said this in the chat. Well, no, one of 100 things that annoyed
Come
me.
on, it's not that bad.
Well, I think it's shit.
What?
You only saw it
No,
once.
no.
Get out of here.
Said it was good in the chat the first time,
I
so
did. I said it was good, and then I went into a big rant about how it was bad. So.
Jack,
It
I
was a
think you
bad
have to go
narrative.
back
It was
and watch
good.
all the Jurassic World movies, my guy. There's some bad movies in that bunch.
Yes, there are indeed, and this one adds to it. I think.
No way.
Rude.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Listen, one of the
Can we kick Jack
things-
out?
One of the
Jack
things
is the
that
chat.
one of the things that bothered me was, and I know I said this in the chat, and I think a few of you said it's in the background and stuff, but there's no rain. There's no rain in this movie.
Oh my god, we don't need rain in every movie.
No,
Didn't have
but
the
there's
time
a
to set it up.
staple that makes a Jurassic movie, and you think about where they're located in the Caribbean. It was storm season when they went, so like a storm would have just added to the atmosphere. I feel like filmmakers they're getting lazy because
Go watch
cool,
Fallen Kingdom. You has been.
I guess a tricky thing to do on location in Thailand. Like I could see it working on either of the night. I mean, the fact that we didn't see Zora's team the first night, I think, was an oversight. It felt a bit jarring that we see.
Yeah. Titanosaurus to.
But then trekking through the jungle, Lost World style in the rain, it would have been cool. It would have been cool. Like maybe if it started raining as soon as they got to the island.
An establishing shot of them in the rain. Sure.
It's one of the staples of a Jurassic movie for me is rain, and they just avoided it. And it's another thing that frustrates me because it's such an easy thing to get right and to add to the atmosphere of a rainforest island, like a jungle island. We didn't get that. I don't know.
And that just ruined the whole movie for Jack. He couldn't take
There it is.
Lack of rain. No.
What was your favorite part of the movie?
Me.
Yeah, you.
You're the most home listening to the podcast.
You're the most negative. I would say of the group here, you're the most negative on the movie. So, what do you think the movie did really well?
As Jurassic fans of the first, you that grew up with the first trilogy, we should be expecting more out of these movies. We shouldn't be accepting
100%.
what we're getting.
Yeah.
And the Jurassic World movies, I know a lot of you guys love them and stuff, but they are it's a different franchise. It feels completely different, and it's its own thing. Fine, you can love it for that, but it's not part of the original trilogy. I'm talking more so the original two movies. Like Assis, you know how much I love JP3, but
no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
They're in a league of their own. The rest, nothing's ever come close, and I don't feel like this one does either. We've talked on this podcast, and we've all agreed how sloppy the script was, how sloppy the motivations are. Why are we accepting that? That's not what we should be doing. We should be criticizing and telling the studio, this is fucked. You're fucking it up again. This was the perfect opportunity to restore the franchise to its roots, and they didn't do it.
And that was your favorite part of the movie?
That was my
favorite. He asked what your favorite part of the movie was.
Honestly, I think favorite part is probably just the opening scene, because it's as close to like original InGen. You get a shot of like the computer that's kind of old and vintage, and the shutdown sequence. But I still have many issues with that. I don't know what my favorite part would be.
It's like you said, Jack.
The T-Rex scene is probably the most Jurassic Park scene we got because of the way that the dinosaur acts in that scene. But aside from that, I don't know.
Because at the end of the day, like it's what you said, it's not a Jurassic Park movie. It is a Jurassic World movie that harkens back a lot more than the other three did to Jurassic Park movies. But at the end of the day, it's still a Jurassic Park movie, a Jurassic World movie. So it's at the end of the day, we're not going to get that Jurassic Park feel, I think, unless
we never are, because I feel like Hollywood is completely
maybe if Spielberg comes back, maybe I don't know.
This does feel like just another superhero or another franchise that just regurgitates the same shit over and over again. I feel like it's become that franchise now, and I said in the group chat, I'm sort of on the side of the team that's like, just let the franchise die at this point, because I feel like every new movie kicks the original, and makes the original's legacy less impactful. It's like another movie, and you look at the general audience response. Sure, a lot of people are having fun, but when you ask them what they actually think of these movies, they just put it against any it's the same as a Marvel movie. It's just kind of like popcorn, turn your brain off, and that's not what I want in a Jurassic Park movie. I don't turn my brain off in the first two, because there's a lot to think about and there's a lot going on. In every other movie, it's like you can, like, even JP3. I love JP3, and it tells its story well. But you do it's like a 90-minute dose of Jurassic. You just get a bit of island fun, some dinosaur action. It doesn't ask too deep a question. But I wanted the franchise to restore the stuff.
It needs the Crichton touch, I think, is probably what you're thinking. Because like the other movies they weren't adaptations, just the first two were. So I think it needs like a stronger foundation.
You say that, but they're so different to the novels. Like, the films aren't a one-to-one.
Yeah, they are, but
they take a lot from them. The structure's still there. The DNA.
Kep is the closest thing we can get to that, and so, I mean, like Corey was saying earlier, I do feel like it's a valid course correct. And for me, it feels like a mix of park and world. But like, I totally understand what you're saying for
You need
sure.
to you got to find a writer who has something to say. You know what I mean? Instead of going to a writer, you got to wait for a writer to come to you. I think that's the only
Yeah.
way
They
we
want to
can
wait.
get something more original. Otherwise, it's just going to be a pumped out executive movie being like, we need a blockbuster on this date for our tentpoles and Jurassic Europe next on the docket. Get us
Yeah, I don't know
something.
why they rush this movie so much. Like, I don't
That's
understand why.
I was muted the whole time. Fuck.
I do get a sense that the rush may have been a response to Dominion and the
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
negative critical response that Dominion got. It does feel like this was the studio being like, before we lose the audience, let's just give them another one and let's make it better. But I know a lot of people do, and you guys all stacked it pretty much ahead of the world movies generally, which is great. So at least it did do that. But for me, I'm just like, it just feels like another poor attempt at a Jurassic sequel, and it's starting to make me align with people that have always said Jurassic Park was never meant to have sequels. I kind of get that now. I'm like, yeah, they can't do it. They've never been able to do it except for The Lost World, which tells its own fantastic story in that same universe and tells it it's different enough that it works. Whereas the rest of them, not really. It's just that it has become exactly what Spielberg said he didn't want it to become, which is a monster movie franchise, and it's just a shame.
It's partly Spielberg's doing too, which is the saddest part.
Truly, I think the only way we're going to get a good sequel is if, as one of you guys said, like a brand new writer who is completely disconnected from the franchise, but it's just a new team entirely. No Spielberg, no Frank Marshall, no Pat Crowley, none of these creatives that have
New
guided
producers.
this franchise since 2013. Say,
You know what this film
Bring
is really
Kathy Kennedy
missing?
back.
Go on.
Fuck it.
What did you
just
say,
throwing a wall.
Aziz?
Bring Kennedy back. Fuck it. Let's do it. She did the first three.
Yes.
Who cares? Let's do it. I say do it. Let's see it. It might be different.
I'm in.
The one thing this film was really really missing this, and I think it could have really saved it, was Pat Crowley flying a plane. I think without that,
honestly, I think the way that I love Frank Marshall and I love his career and a lot of what he's made is fantastic, but I do feel like he's kind of in that era of his life where he's just having fun, and like this, there's not a lot.
The industry's passed him by a little bit, man.
So it's just kind of let's just.
I love Frank, but
the studio.
Yeah.
Let's get Alice Garland to write the next movie. Fuck it. That's what should be happening. Someone who has stuff to say.
My other take is again, I'm sorry for being so negative, but this is the Rebirth review, so it makes sense. We never got that story that followed Jurassic Park 3. The end of that movie, Pteranodons have finally escaped the island, so you get the sense the next movie is going to be like Breakout or Extinction or something. The dinosaurs make it to the mainland, and you can totally argue that the Jurassic World era then ultimately did that, and we got the dinosaur breakout. But because those three movies feel so different from the first three, I feel like that story never got finished and never got told. This was a chance at going back and being like, this is the Jurassic Park 4 you never had. And we never got that. I don't think we ever will, and I think that's maybe my issue with a lot of these sequels, is that the sort of post Jurassic Park 3 story died in 2014 when the new park was announced. I still feel like that was such a stupid idea. Doing another park again in the world of Jurassic Park, we knew that they would never be able to. Even the Lost World, they sort of tried to, and it was never going to work. That story's been told, and then they just do another park, and it's working, and it's been working for 10 years, and it just doesn't land, because it's sort of contradictory to its whole message about you can't control nature. And it's like, well, for 10 years they did. It's just like, okay, I'll buy it, but I'm not happy with it. I'm sad that we never got the InGen dinosaurs breaking out. I'm sad we never got to see the Pteranodons from Jurassic Park 3, which are like the coolest fucking Pteranodons this franchise ever had, attack a Little League game in Vancouver or something. That's what I wanted to see.
Pick up little Jimmy, fly away.
Exactly.
So when do we get the Dino Human DNA is the real question. I think it's the next freaking movie. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. You have to keep doing something. At some point, you're gonna try mixing the. And you're 8 movies in at this point. You have to do something.
Well, where do you go from here? Which I guess is the next big question.
Dino humans.
Let's go there. But my final point will be just like there is no real world implications to any of this. Whereas I think for me, that's where the franchise was always supposed to go. Is that once these dinosaurs break out, there's going to be real world implications. There's going to be something that threatens humanity. And that's where I wanted the franchise to go. And that's where it always teased going. And that's where the novels teased going too. Look at DX and look at that hint at the end of the Lost World novel about, maybe like we know more about DX now, like it was a prion disease and it was affecting. That's the kind of thing I wanted to see, because it's less about the dinosaurs and more about what's the impact of genetic or reverse engineering dinosaurs, more so than just they break out and kill people. Like, what's the actual scientific impacts on humanity? Imagine if like the idea of Children of Men, where there hasn't been people can't give birth, people can't get pregnant, it's not happening anymore. So humanity, give it 10, 15 years and we are fucked. Like, that's such an impactful message in that film. Imagine if the Jurassic franchise went down that kind of thriller-esque survival route, where something genetically had begun affecting humans, but not in a way that's just killing them off. Even though the prion disease thing is fucking cool, because
but then won't that be less about the dinosaurs? Kind of like what happened with the locusts and Dominion, and people did not respond well to that. So I fear that people wouldn't like that either.
It was so badly done
coexist
and badly thought out, and it wasn't set up at all. And it was like a one throwaway line in the movie, like that fat guy in the CIA headquarters talking about it.
Yeah, you didn't see any real world.
The movie more than once, but sure.
Yeah. I just Anyway, okay, fair enough. Let's talk about what comes next, because the end of before I saw the movie, you had people talking about, or was it Pat Crowley and Frank Marshall being like, "Oh yeah, we left it very open for sequels." Where in the movie is it left open for sequels?
People survived.
Open in the sense that literally anything can happen because there's been no change really.
Nothing has
changed
to the wider world. These people came out. They all seem happy they survived, even though they witnessed a load of deaths. Cool, it's all right. We're alive. There's no reason for Zora to come back. There's no reason for Dr. Loomis to come back. There's no reason for Duncan or any of the family to come back. The only sequel setup they gave was Dolores and the Aqualops, because they've taken a dinosaur out. But that's obviously not a story anybody wants to have. So
the only place I agree is the family does not need to come back, but there are ways to expand, possibilities to expand with the other characters. I think there are possibilities to expand with the treatment or the drug. And I was going to say, like what you were saying about going down a thriller route about humanity and DX, or maybe this drug or this treatment. I'm thinking of I Am Legend, where they cure cancer, but then it kills people, or it makes them into zombies or whatever. Like maybe this drug or this treatment has an effect on humans after a bit that is not good, and we have to fix it or something.
Does that then negate the value of this movie then? Because it's like everybody who died, then we come back and be like, yeah, that was for nothing. Shit.
I don't think we have to think about whether sequels negate the value of their original films, but sure. I don't know.
I'm just more curious. I mean, that's a totally valid point, and I can see that. But then I don't feel like that's in any direction the way the studio will go, because then you're sort of avoiding the dinosaurs at that point. You're just following the science and the creation of a drug. You're not.
Maybe the solution is in the dinosaurs somehow, but yeah.
I dinosaur like is the battery. Down a stupid route where it'd be like,
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
One of these samples is faulty. We need to go back and get another one, and it's just the same shit. Because how are they going to like? We're never going to see the D-Rex again, presumably. So what was the point in any of that? I just don't really understand the setups for the sequel. But
Mr. Parker and
Parker,
isn't it Miss Parker?
No, you said Mr.
Could Mr. Parker be Tim Murphy by any chance?
No, he wouldn't have been that much of a dick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Could he have been? Could it, like, because Murphy is, I guess, his mother or father's name, right? And they had a divorce, and Parker's
so he's taken his grandfather's middle name?
Yeah, sure, John Parker Hammond. That's what exactly. That's too crazy. It's too crazy. Okay.
I mean, Caleb, you make the strongest argument, but I don't feel like that's the direction they'll go, because it does just, if the dinosaurs are on the mainland, they've gone back to the mainland, but the dinosaurs have pretty much died out on the mainland.
Can
They're
I?
moving on to equatorial zones.
Yeah.
What story is
Yeah.
there to be told that's Jurassic?
Can I tell you what? So Stephen Ray Morris uh suggested that Jonathan Bailey's character, he has that line on the beach about euthanizing them and being humane, or all his
Oh
lines
no.
and stuff. So like maybe he has motivation to go back to this island, and someone has to come
Start
save
popping
him or
caps.
something. Like Grant, there was some story in the past about Grant had been living on Sorna for years or something. Like, I don't know, it would
Which
feel
I'm
sort
glad
of,
they
if
never
you could.
did, because that sounds
Yeah,
silly.
well, right. And so like if they could find a way to like make it work or be believable. But yeah.
Like Sound of Thunder would like then use the dinosaurs to hunt them, like a dinosaur hunting island kind of
Mm.
thing for the rich people. No.
I mean,
Are we just
that-
gonna do
that
one-off
idea.
sequels from now on?
honestly, that's a strong argument, Derek. There, like certain
Oh,
people
no.
get that knowledge, and maybe the second movie is just a completely different group of people who are going there to exclusively hunt dinosaurs, and we just get a very tight knit, proper survival movie where
You know what it's gonna
And
be though, Jack? It has to be like redo something the trilogy's already done or the saga's done already. So it's gonna be like the hunters and then a group of people being like, "No, don't do it." And then Jonathan Bailey's gonna be in that group, guaranteed.
or there'll be
I'm
a
down for that.
volcano on
I'm
the
down for
island.
It's like
that.
the Lost World 3.0.
From a real perspective, has there been any talk anywhere about like the actors' contracts including more than one film?
Not really.
I haven't
no.
heard anything.
No.
No,
I don't
the
mind
only thing
one-off
was
film
about
sequels, though.
yeah, the only thing was about Mahershala Ali and Universal saying you can't kill him off
Mm-hmm.
because
Yep.
it's Mahershala Ali and we might need him. I feel like
That man has an Academy Award.
the problem is the studio will push, and the filmmakers probably at this point will push for, we want ScarJo and we want Mahershala Ali, and I just can't see any reason for those characters to return.
Mahershala sits out film number 2 and then he returns in film number 3, but he's now
Hey.
working for the
I know where you're going.
yeah.
I feel like, I hope they recognize the exploding stardom of Jonathan Bailey and like go on that. I would be fine if he was the only major character that came back for something. So
Dude, they better snag him up and get a contract if that's
yeah.
because he's gonna be. I mean, there's even rumors of him being James Bond, the next one. So like,
Oh yeah.
you got to snag him if they're gonna go with Loomis.
Oh, I know. I got the opening of movie 2. The opening is, we just left off from the end of the last movie. The mosasaur comes out of the water, forces the boat back to the island. So we're back, baby. That we're stuck with the deers. We get to learn that her name is Amy, and we get to befriend her and everything. Do the sign language thing, just like in Congo.
I thought.
Oh my god, I'm riding
I
it
thought you were
now.
about to give us like some evolution thing. You said the mosasaurus comes out of the water. I thought you were going to say it was going to start walking.
Climbs out of the water.
Oh, well, we could do that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's put it in the pot. We'll just go at everything. We'll give it all we got.
Evolution. Hey, Jurassic World Evolution. There's the title.
Oh my god. We screw the game, we cancel the games. I mean, that's okay, right? Just cancel the games. We're done with those.
That's fine. Yeah, that's okay. We accept that. Actually, to be fair, honestly, what the idea of, I think Assis, you said it, like standalone sequels. I actually think that would work, and Derek's idea is the strongest so far of like a team of rich people going in to hunt the dinosaurs. You know, the last.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I actually love the idea because then you've just got brand new characters, and they're all people that could potentially die in the movie. It'd be great if the movie kills every character in the film, and you end with the final person on the island alone.
If that was gonna happen, it was gonna happen with this movie.
Yeah. And then they cast Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali, and they were like, "There's no way we can kill."
It really should have been a cast of nobodies and just like marketed on the set pieces, because then
we can't kill these people; they're too expensive.
Yeah. What comes next? Because it's inevitable that they're going to do Jurassic Park 8. So where do we go from here?
The dinosaurs get off the island.
So,
D-Rex
so there's this
escape
volcano
realizes
that's
it
going to
can
kill the
form.
D-Rex.
Yeah, recycle, rinse, repeat.
You could go ecological disaster still, technically, right?
Like a tsunami?
No, with like dinosaurs have like wreaked havoc on
Affecting the
species that have
environment.
been here,
Yeah.
and then but now that they've died off, there's like a gap in the thing, and animals are dying, or then they got to replace it with dinosaurs. I don't know, something like that.
I actually kind of wondered about that because on the island at the very beginning we see shots of monkeys, and then I don't
I
think there's
love
any
that.
animals later on in the movie. So that would be something that's be really interesting. And like the New York, like the what was it, Billy Bronto?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
The Brachiosaurus.
Yeah. No, I'm sure
That'll
they're
be
I'm
like
sure they're
a
affecting
bunch of
other
That was
animals.
yeah.
that was just a dumbass on the radio. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But no, I
I think
did notice the
also an
monkeys.
Edward's idea.
A real world
Monkeys
implication
were
of
cool,
all the
actually. That
dinosaurs
was
being in our real world, even though they're not anymore. Like that was like they haven't done a real world implication of it yet, being like, oh, this is what the effect of dinosaurs in our real world actually are, instead of a
Yeah,
couple dudes
no.
being eaten every once in a while.
It's too comedic in Dominion the way it's done with like at the end when they're outside the
Senate building.
outside the Senate building, and then you've got like people in the background like petting dinosaur. I was like, "Oh, it's like Dinotopia. It's like not. It's not.
That's where we
the
are now.
Kind of
Coexist.
They never really set the stage. Like we see a bunch of species get out of Lockwood, fair enough.
like
Not a huge amount.
15 dinos,
And
or
then
something. Right?
I know the implication was supposed to be that the genetic engineering was also out there. You know, it became open source. People could breed dinosaurs, but it didn't earn that. It didn't tell us why they were doing it. It didn't show why they were just breeding them and releasing them into the world. It didn't earn it.
Yeah,
But the music was good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Was it people think maybe like second weekend, if it's doing really well financially, then maybe we'll get a sense of what they're going to do next.
No, we'll get the logo with a date on it. That's
Hey,
the formula, isn't it?
Jack, I asked
the
you if
weekend
you thought a
drop-off.
sequel announcement was coming, and you were like, a few weeks. So
Yeah, I definitely think they'll push it.
It's making a lot of money.
No, go ahead, Sam.
I was gonna say, San Diego Comic-Con is coming up later this month, and so far I didn't see an official announcement, but they said Universal Studios would be there with 2 movies. So
Megan
potentially
2.0.
something. Yes.
I was just sorry, this is a complete tangent, and I apologize, but I wonder if Chaos Theory is going to be there. Go on with Rebirth.
I think
Jurassic World randomly had quite a big presence at Comic-Con immediately after the film came out, didn't it? I don't know if that had always been the plan, or when the box office started raking and they pivoted. So who knows? Maybe we'll see that again.
How is it doing in the global box office? Because
our box office guru is not here.
I think the last I saw was on track for like 316 or something.
It's
performing better than Dominion.
318 million for the weekend for the 5.
Jurassic World was 512.
Jurassic World was an anomaly, though.
Yeah, but it was obviously huge.
7th film in a franchise, yeah. So
this is doing very well.
Is it doing well?
Yeah, it's doing better than expected.
Very well.
The initial estimate was 260 global for the weekend, and it's 320 basically, so 60 million.
It'll be higher than that, guaranteed by the end of the
It'll make more than Thunderbolts made in its entire run in the first 5 days, which is just nuts by comparison.
I mean, at the end of the day, no matter how much you didn't like the movie, and I don't think I want the franchise to ever die. So I'm happy at the end of the day that it's still surviving. And at the end of the day, getting kept back was a step in the right direction for trying to get the movie back or the franchise back on rails. So maybe next time we'll be on the up and up and up still. Fingers crossed.
Oh, they're going to bring back Colin Trevorrow, right?
Claws crossed.
Yeah, I mean, Assis, you said before the movie came out, you said you wanted it to do poorly so that Universal learn a lesson.
But then here's the thing. Then
Aziz.
but here's the problem. if that happens, they'll just do another Jurassic Park 3 to Jurassic World situation and just kill the franchise for like 10 years. And
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
not
want them to
the
run into
youngest
the
kid anymore.
ground.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't got 14 years to wait.
Yeah, Aziz isn't
I only
going to
got
live
14
that
years
long.
left.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying, like financially, but then I feel like we're getting movies that are worse than Jurassic Park 3, and that's not a bar we should be.
But at the end of the day, for me, this movie is better than The Lost World. If I'm going to put on a Jurassic movie and it's down to those two, I'm putting Rebirth on.
You just slit Jack's throat right now. It's bleeding
You
out.
guys know that's the case for me. I don't like The Lost World.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So for me,
And
this movie it has some value to me
You're
already.
not alone, because my mom ranked it above Lost World. So
I'm not alone.
People just don't get the Lost World.
yeah, she hates Lost World, honestly.
This movie blows The Lost World out of the water.
Oh, it does not, Steve.
The family stuff was way better.
Just stop.
There's no gymnastics bullshit. That was unacceptable.
Yeah, I was really disappointed that there was no high bar scene in Rebirth.
That's what I need in every Jurassic movie: rain and a high bar scene.
That's setting a high bar.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
A really random thought just in relation to, and this doesn't, unless you're looking for it, it's not a huge thing, but I feel like some of the stunt work was a little questionable. And like when you go back through the behind the scenes and stuff, I can't remember, there was a few things in the film. The one I remember was whoever was standing in for Luna Blaze, as the boat's going over, she literally does like this perfect backwards jump to clear the railing. And it's like, that's not falling off a boat. That was like perfectly rehearsed, but it's not the way it should look on camera. And there was something else later on where I was like, oh no, that felt way too rehearsed and not in the moment.
Xavier's dive was like 10s across the board kind of like execution, where it's like, I
liked him jumping in the water. I didn't care for Manuel and Isabella then following them in. I didn't feel like there was the boat wasn't in enough danger at that point to justify jumping into the ocean with the Spinos and the Mosasaur. It felt a little
but the guy's daughter's in the water. Not a
so
good
you're going
look.
to take your even younger daughter in the water with you?
Yeah, but not leave her
Not a
behind.
great dad. Let's be honest.
He's having a tough go. It's a tough situation.
We got the classic Jurassic themes of divorce, with the family.
Oh, and mustache dads.
Oh,
That's important.
Mustache dad.
I have a mustache. It's important.
We did. We got
a mustache.
Kirby-esque stash back. But yeah, I think that all kind of works in terms of the family. I like the relationship between them all. I think my issues are more with just the writing and the pacing of the movie. Like third act just flew by, like very similar to Romulus.
It was rushed, no?
Just rushed by, and then there wasn't really any impact to the D-Rex at that point. And there wasn't anything else to the D-Rex either. It just did the thing it did in the trailer, and then it went. It killed.
After I think I timed this out, but after they're done with the Kets, there's actually like only 20 minutes of the film left. That's how tiny the third act is, because I'd say that's where it feels like it cuts the second, and it's this poor balance. Like, ironically, even though the boat stuff is so good, I think we spent too long at sea.
Yes, 100%. I got a bit sick of just being on a boat in daytime because it just didn't feel very Jurassic to me. It was really well done. The music was probably the best in the movie at that point.
It was, and it was something new and it was different.
New and different, good build up. But I just thought like, 4 Spinosaurs. It's so kaiju. It's so like monster movie. Look at these monsters. It wasn't
sick.
It wasn't very animalistic in that sense. And then
you also could have prevented that death if everybody just stayed inside. Like it had a cabin.
Yeah,
it wasn't that hard.
I think that can be said about lots of these. Let's just stay inside, guys. Let's stay home.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and I get it. Like they needed the boat because they needed to get the Mosa sample, but going to the island in a boat just seemed stupid considering the Mosasaurus and all the other threats in the ocean, and they were having a go at Manuel's character, and it's like, well, you're doing the exact same thing.
Well, how else are you gonna get the Mosa DNA?
Yeah, I said the Mosa DNA, understandable, but also like they could have sent a different team for that, and they could have just come in on a helicopter and used the helicopter to get different samples across the island. They have a helicopter.
No, helicopter too loud, disturb dinosaurs, no good.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
kind of like Amy.
That brings me to the question though: Where do we think the helicopter that was crashed on the island was from?
It was US military, right? Is the markings on it? It
It
had
looked US
the
military.
star with the stripe and a circle, and
It
there was
has like
a.
US Army dog tags, so I would assume so. I would assume it's some sort of army vehicle or
But it's a good
something
question as to like
paramilitary.
why were they even there? And
It could have been from years past,
oh, definitely for sure, it was old as fuck.
but unrelated to the island though.
Yeah, I kind of like it was weird because I really did think that we would see that in the opening. Maybe that was part of like the opening scene or something, but I do like the idea that there are other stories with this island yet to be told or that haven't been told.
That's where we're going. We're going back to the ancient civilization that lived on the island, and that's like a Prey prequel.
But that's
super
the problem.
prequel.
That's why this movie would have worked better on Isla Sorna, because if you're a deep fan, you have that understanding of Trespasser showed us these temples and these ruins. So, and we all presumed when we first saw set photos, like, yeah, well, it's definitely going to be Sorna. It would have just added more to, like, okay, the fans get something and the lore gets expanded a little.
It probably was Sorna originally, and then fucking Garrett, when he moved to Thailand, he's like, I gotta change this because it looks too different.
Well, isn't Sorna canonically like there's no dinosaurs left on there? That's what I thought they made it seem like in the world
they
movies.
killed off all the dinosaurs in the rest of the free world, and it could have just been like, oh, there actually are dinosaurs there still.
It would have made more sense seeing a lab from like 2010 because it's rumored that Masrani went there and poached dinosaurs, but also did stuff there, presumably. So maybe we should have seen that lab. Maybe
Well, they need like a super fan writing the damn movie script, right? That's the problem.
I don't think they want super fans involved at this point, though. That's the sad thing, you know.
Yeah, I'm not.
Well, I'm not a writer,
so of like a fan needs to write it, but I get what you're saying. It definitely needed somebody that actually cared about the lore.
Maybe like a top level pass would have been a really good idea.
Yeah, definitely. It's just confusing. It's a messy, confusing lore, and now we have to kind of fit it into our own canon, and that's fine.
I don't even know how you do that because I feel like the film doesn't really do anything to explain anything. We've obviously got like tons of notes that do, but even those, they are so contrived and complicated that you know, if I went out to someone who'd just seen the movie and said, oh no, this is how it is, they'd be like, no, that's not what I just watched.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
that's valid.
And that's it. Like seeing an InGen lab from the past is great. We all wanted that. Even in the line in Jurassic Park 3, that makes me wonder what else they're up to. InGen have this. They've always had this ominous feeling about them where you don't know exactly what they've been doing, and it's much dirtier and darker than we see on screen.
So, it's Umbrella is basically what it is. It's like Resident Evil Umbrella.
Yeah, and that was great. Like, show us another InGen zone, but it also doesn't really fit into the timeline now, so it's a little confusing and messy. And it feels, in a way, it feels effortless. It feels like I will stand by. The movie kind of feels like just another way to, one, make money. I get it, it's a business, but make money, and two, sell toys. Look, we need a big new toy dinosaur that everyone can buy a toy of, the D-Rex. And what about something that flies? Okay, let's get winged raptors. Like, it's just stupid.
But there's no toys of those yet.
Oh, it's coming.
I know.
With the IMAX release, right? Late summer?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Cross our fingers.
Re-release.
I go back and watch it in IMAX. Fuck it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I would watch an extended.
You got my dollar.
If they put some of the scenes back in and maybe they re-released it.
Well,
the movie already feels too long.
It does already feel. It somehow feels too short and too long at the same time. When it ends, you're like, was that it? But also, I want to go.
Yeah, first half pacing great, second half pacing all over the place. It's incredible what you said. Cat's scene, 20 minutes left.
Yeah, so weird.
That's weird. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Garrus alluded to putting scenes on the
Blu-ray. Where the fuck is Caleb going?
Sorry, guys. I have to go, but I love you all. Happy Jurassic World Rebirth. So
he's going for his 8th screening. So
he's on the way right now.
I am going to a movie, but yeah.
Is it Formula One?
Yes, it is F1. Yes.
Ew.
Okay.
Not breaking the opening box office.
For Formula One.
It's a good solid
Not
movie.
A real
it's
fan.
a good time. It's a really good time.
So anyway,
enjoy
the room.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Krista.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, now that we've lost Caleb, it's probably a good time to wrap things up. But before we do, any final thoughts on Rebirth? And for the audience listening, once we wrap out this pod, you will hear from our graphic designer, James McQuaid, our
Australian.
our man Dan Ander, Jaden, and you will hear from Jay Malone and hopefully Ryan and Josh as well. We'll record their thoughts. But before that, any final thoughts on Rebirth?
It's entertaining. I will say that I came out of that theater feeling entertained both times I watched it. And for the general audience, I think that's just kind of something that they're looking for. It's just feeling like you had a good time, and I think Rebirth does that.
That's valid.
I agree. I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it added new, like the new actors in it, not really referencing any of the old people or having like crossovers besides the one little Grant mention. I think made it kind of feel fresh for people. And just one little Easter egg that we didn't talk about. I love that they put the Crichton Middle School on the side of the bus.
Yeah, that was
at the
cute.
beginning.
Was that right during the opening when he's driving down?
Yeah, he passes it twice, weirdly. The
Yes.
continuity in this film is all over. But
yeah, I was looking out for the bus when you mentioned it. That's one thing I would say is that whole opening in New York, I actually did not mind it at all. I thought when they were shooting in New York City and stuff, I was like, oh, it's just going to be another city, superhero city scene. But it all flowed for me. I liked the slow introduction of Krebs and Zora, and I actually kind of liked seeing modern day NYC with like a dead dinosaur and no one cares. They're just trying to get around it, kind of thing. It felt very real, in terms of how humans would react at this point, But yeah.
Wait, was it dead?
No, it was still
dying.
moaning. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did I say?
I was like, I didn't.
You said dead, yeah.
Oh, sorry. The dying. It wasn't a Patasaurus, right?
It was, unless you listen to the fucking radio.
Yeah, but we discussed that. I thought that was kind of like.
I don't think that was deliberate. I think it was probably scripted as a brachiosaur, especially coming from Kep, who wrote, the JP. And then I reckon ILM were just like, well, we got this apatosaur we've used for the last 4 movies. So it was probably just labeled like Sauropod Hero A or something. And they were like, well, that sounds great.
But I kind of like it if it was intentional, because most people do kind of call the long neck ones either the Brachio or the Brontosaurus. Most people who aren't dinosaur people just kind of think they're all that. So it works in that sense. A lot of people in this world still don't care
crazy
about
mixed up world.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. Unless anybody has anything else, Derek, I see you putting your hand up.
I mean, I wasn't, but now I am. It's a movie where if you're a big fan of Jurassic, I think it might be better on a second watch onward. Like once you get the expectations out of the way, it is just a lot of fun. I will say, as someone who was really anticipating the T-Rex Lagoon / river sequence, it definitely fulfilled what I was wanting out of that. It's very close to the book. It actually kind of improves upon it in certain ways. There's no annoying Lex coughing on the raft moments like in the book, so they wisely got that out of it's not in the movie at all, anything like that. So the characters don't really do anything.
Xavier takes a big drag and just starts like hacking up.
Too real.
They could have tied it in that way. Oh my god! But thank God they didn't. So I mean, yeah. So no, it's fun. Like for me, like I said, it's definitely kind of in the middle, and that's not a bad thing. After 7 movies, it is hard to get close to the top after that. So I think people should enjoy it though. Jack.
Yeah. No, thank you, Derek. I think be great to see what everybody else thinks in the comments of this podcast, especially if you're watching on YouTube. I don't know if you can comment on Spotify. I don't know if you can. But if you're listening on YouTube, please do comment your thoughts down below. I'm looking forward to seeing people's reviews. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. This has been a long podcast. It currently says 4 minutes. It's really long. But thank you. Thank you for joining. It's been great chatting this movie. I'm sure we will talk this movie again. For everybody listening, thank you for listening. JurassicOutpost.com and all that crap. And be prepared. You're going to hear from the rest of the Outpost team who have recorded their thoughts too. Enjoy. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
No, Corey. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well.
sorry, I didn't see you there. Hello, my name is James McQuaid. I'm a part-time graphic designer for the Outpost and part-time Jurassic enthusiast. Before I rattle off my thoughts on Rebirth, I just wanted to say that up top, whilst I enjoyed the last 3 entries, I was unfortunately one of those that was hoping for a little more substance script-wise, especially when it came to Dominion. The modern Jurassic series with each film, in my mind, had really made a move towards movies like Fast and the Furious and Mission Impossible. I will say, however, the most recent Mission Impossible was a film that kind of knows what it is, and for that reason it was really enjoyable. What made the first Jurassic film so perfect, with the exception of JP3, but we'll get to that, was that despite larger-than-life scenarios thrown at the characters, their reaction to events felt a little bit more grounded. Sure, things were a little cartoony at times, but it never really felt over the top, and it was a nice balance. As for Rebirth, in order to personally give the film the best chance possible, I decided to take a big step back from Twitter and Instagram this past year, and, like an attempt to avoid spoilers wherever possible. This worked pretty well until the huge marketing blitz of this past, month. It was inevitable, but I did happen to glimpse a few shots of the final act. Unfortunately, that was a bit of a bummer. I took myself to see Rebirth on Friday, and given my feelings on the last 3, I really tried to go in with an open mind. With Gareth at the helm and David on script duties, I felt pretty optimistic. First up, the inciting incident, at the very beginning, felt really Jurassic to me. Yeah, love that. What was slightly annoying about these moments is that the entire scene was spoiled in the trailer. But it's all good. It's a great scene, and I would definitely get butts in seats, so I'd know why they did it. From there, we're quickly introduced to Scarlett's character, Zora, in the discussion of money with our obvious new big bad. This is the first time I felt an obvious link to JP3, where this scene kind of mirrors that of Grant and Kirby meeting for the first time and discussing the big bucks. I thought the gradual introduction of the rest of the characters was pretty fun and lighthearted, but it did kind of feel like a bit of a checklist, as we've seen these moments in the trailer already. However, once they were all on the boat, what I really quite enjoyed were the slower character building moments. The movie kind of slowed down and took its time and made us feel like we're actually traveling to the island with them. I kind of had this feeling watching King Kong, the Peter Jackson film, where the time on the boat's quite it takes its time, and you feel like you're actually on the journey with these people. There are also some really beautiful shots with the sunset here that I really want to highlight. Definitely felt like we were watching a Gareth Edwards film in those moments. But yeah, the slow pace here builds up the tension of kind of what's going to happen next. I quite enjoyed that. Unfortunately, the scenes with the Spinosaurs didn't quite hit as well for me, and it's nothing to do with the designs of the dinosaurs and all the effects, like the water effects, absolutely mind-blowing. All very cool and fun, but it was more that this scene plays out almost exactly the same as JP3, where 2 of the mercenaries are taken out one by one early, right before the mission kind of even begins. Very similar to Nash and Cooper in JP3. Also with the Spinosaurus, it's quite funny. But yeah, this scene also ends with the vehicle they arrive in to the island getting destroyed right away. So in JP3 it's a plane, in Rebirth it's the boat. This all being said though, it's a great sequence, and as I said, the effects are just absolutely amazing. It's just I couldn't help but notice the similarities and the beats of the film. But yeah, no, it's a good time. I wasn't the biggest fan of the boating family that happens to stumble upon the mission, just because they kind of felt a bit one note. Throughout the film they do kind of tease us with a bit of emotional growth from the boyfriend during a chat with the father, but it's kind of short-lived and doesn't, there isn't really any change as the film goes on. I will say though, the scene with the T-Rex and the raft, whilst there are hiccups and the T-Rex disappearing behind the raft and stuff like that, that sequence is just a marvel to watch, and I'm glad it has got the modern effects treatment. It would have been a bit different back in the Jurassic Park days if they tried to do it then. So with all the amazing, marvelous special effects now, it's cool to see that come to life. I do have to make a special mention of the scene where the boyfriend is taking a whiz, and the entire fight between the raptors and the new flying Godzilla Muto-like creatures happens slightly out of frame and out of focus, only to end in the jokey resuming of the whiz. Whilst it made me laugh, more in a "did they really do that?" type of way. I really, once again, felt the way I did when the T-Rex was taken out by the Spinosaurus in JP3. Take the dino the world has come to love over the years, the raptor, and replace it with a big new bad dinosaur that the audience needs to kind of respect. I'm not sure how the rest of the community feels about the absence of raptors in this one, but I would have loved to see more. I was also really shocked by the death of the Merc by the was it Quetzalcoatlus? It's almost as intense as the loss of our dear Eddie, but of course we have a bit more of an emotional connection to Eddie by the time he disappears in the Lost World. Mind you, this death was just absolutely epic and horrifying. Yeah, awful, as in like in an amazing, cool way. Jumping ahead to the final act, starting off with the face-off with the big bad 6-foot turkeys. I found this an acceptable retread of the raptors in the kitchen scene and enjoyed the recreation. It also mirrored the final scene with the raptors and Ian in the Lost World at the servo station. Really enjoyed the sneak peek we got of the Distortus Rex through the broken containment doors through the eyes of Jonathan Bailey's character. It really helped to show the kind of the scale of the thing. Of course, it eats a helicopter later on, so you get the true size there. But just looking through the doors, it's a very Spielberg thing to kind of obstruct our view and show only a little bit, just keep us wanting more. Very, very cool shot. I have to say the final death of Rupert Friend's big bad character was pretty gruesome. But I definitely giggled at the severed arm, which was probably a loose reference to Ray Arnold's arm in the original JP. Look, all in all, just to wrap things up, I enjoyed this movie. There were moments that reminded me of the joy I felt watching the first Jurassic, which is no doubt the intention. I'd probably put this film, up there with JP3. I guess because it hits similar beats, but it's just a fun adventure, escape from Dinosaur Island type of movie, which scratches that itch. I'll always have Jurassic Park and the Lost World to go back to, so it's just fun to get more entries in the Jurassic series. Cheers.
All right, so this is Jay Malone recording their thoughts for Jurassic World Rebirth for the Jurassic Outpost podcast. I ultimately enjoyed Rebirth. I keep saying that it reminds me of the Topps comics or some of the old video games from the 90s and thousands, like Scan Command, even like Jurassic Park Rampage Edition, or like the Chaos Continues kind of thing. Or it also reminds me of like, of course, Dino Trackers and the different kind of stories that you come up with your Kenner figures while you have like the original film playing in the background. It's beautiful. The movie is filmed beautifully. It has lots of action. It's has lots of stellar moments with incredible prehistoric beasts, which, what more could you want? Yes, I kind of want a little bit more care, sense, and plot, I think, in the end, like a lot of us do. While this beautiful creature feature, it has a lot of fun characters, thrilling moments, but there's also no denying the overall kind of drop in quality of care. I feel while the actors seem to be enjoying themselves, Gareth Edwards' direction and eye is like spot on in this. It doesn't really make up for some of the baffling choices. For me, at least, the story fails to address like lingering questions from the last 6 films in favor of creating a lot more. And it just feels more like a 2-hour pilot episode. And so, which is weird because I feel like in a lot of the marketing, they were like, we were trying to make a self-sustained movie, but it's so obvious they're trying to make something like the start of something new, it feels. So I don't know. That's just me. That's my thoughts. Again, enjoyed it. Very overall, key highlights to me is of course the prolonged mosasaur sequences that we got in this. It finally took all this time, but it's just like Ben said, like I feel like the mosasaur was really underutilized previously, and it's finally good to see that it has this really long sequence especially with it being basically a giant homage to Jaws. It's really well done, I think, in one of the best parts of the whole film. I do want more like marine reptile scenes, more akin to like Dino Crisis 2, or even like the Telltale Jurassic game. These like really tense underwater scenes and things. I think there's something there that hasn't been played with yet that could prove to be really, really cool and suspenseful. But anyway, something hopefully for another time in the future. Sorry, I also have like 6 pages of notes when it comes to this. The river of raft scene, of course, is another huge highlight that everybody's discussing, and it's in all the trailers, as is most of this film's cool elements. Unfortunately, it is really cool to see this scene get imagined in the films and not just like in a ride. And in some ways it was even done better than what was even in the book. Like the T-Rex just actually seems like an animal in this, and it's actually like, it's a beautifully well done scene, and I think that and the Mosasaur scenes are reason enough alone to like go see this movie, as well as like make me feel good about having seen it 3 times already. So it's cool, especially the second time I saw it was in 40X, and all of the big scenes in this, like the Mosasaur hunt, the raft scene, the Quetzalcoatlus nest, and everything, like just fun, lots of fun. And then the fog effects towards the end with the mutants was also a lot of fun in 40X, but I digress. I also found myself really liking a lot of the characters in this movie, and not just kind of forced like I find myself doing more so with the previous 3 Jurassic World films, actually having to like really work at liking some of the characters. There was definitely a lot of characters in this I loved. I love Duncan. I love Nina. I love Leclerc. Oh God, that entire crew was fantastic. Jonathan Bailey, okay, I gotta be honest, Loomis is easily one of the best on-screen representations of like a paleontologist like ever. You know, all of the silly little jokes that he would come up with, his little thing, like it was perfect. The unfortunate thing that keeps it from like really being the best paleontologist is a paleontologist would never call a Quetzalcoatlus or Mosasaur dinosaurs. They would never do it. Like, it's just, it really... The unfortunate thing about this movie for me is, like, while I like it, the things that really irritate me with this. There's no, like, in-between with it, like there is with some of the other films, I admit. Like, it's just, there's no in-between. Like, the things I really like about this movie, I really like, and I think are fantastic. It's just really unfortunate that there's a lot of really... seemingly like dumb and careless mistakes like this. Like, there's no reason that couldn't have been ADR'd as, like, we need it from the 3 largest prehistoric species that still exist, you know, or something like that. Or if the whole, like, they're setting it up because Krebs and Zora are saying dinosaur and dinosaur over again. If he's getting, like, annoyed by them doing it, and he's just like, oh, what's the fucking point of, like, me explaining this? Yes, the 3 biggest dinosaurs. Why isn't there more exasperation in it? Like, you know, it really doesn't make sense. Or are they trying to go with, like, yeah, he's a paleontologist, but he's not, like, really a paleontologist? Because also point out that Krebs and Scarjo, or Zora, they almost kind of, like, goad him into, like, joining this. They're like, yeah, you call yourself this, but are you really a paleontologist if you really haven't been out there and worked with the live dinosaurs? Like, what kind of scientist are you? And he, like, totally buys into it. So is he really trying to, like, prove himself as a scientist because he's really not that good of one? Or, you know, it's just weird. And it's one of many just small little errors, similar to, like, I'm sorry if you can hear my cat's jingle on the recording. It's like the whole calling an Apatosaurus both a Brachiosaurus and a Brontosaur, like, in the same instance. Like, it's not... It's wild. It's just weird, some of these things that just get set aside, these quality control things. It reminds me of the sickle claws on the original Hasbro Jurassic World Raptor toys, like, not being there. Did nobody check, certain things? I gotta do eventually, like, a whole kind of analysis of that. But anyway, back to thoughts on the film. I really loved the score. Desplat's music is incredible. I love that they pushed to do, like, hummable motifs and everything. Like, it's great. It's wonderful. It took me 2 times, but in the Titanosaur scene, that, like, kind of new theme that comes in, you can really hear Bailey's clarinet playing in it. And, like, especially, like, with him reaching out and having that little breakdown, like, feeling the Titanosaur. Oh, it's so good. It's so good, guys. Those are the moments. Those are the moments. It's the sick trike. It's the Brachiosaur. It's the Stegosaurs. It's the, God, those are the moments, guys. You know what, Dr. Grant? Billy was right. It's those moments. It's those moments, man. Something that I meant to mention earlier is also, while I like the characters, there's no getting around that this film had some clunky dialogue and rough moments to kind of get through. That being said, I think it really shines in moments of, like, no dialogue. Like, these characters' best moments was all moments where there was very little dialogue. Like, it was either them, like, staring off, or them, like, reflecting on something that another character had said, or, like, even if it's, like, screams or whoops and stuff like that. Like, it's stuff like that. Like, those kind of more genuine moments, those are what made me really fall in love with a lot of these characters. And it's just a shame that, like, then there's, like, weird exposition moments and things that don't really feel like the characters. Like, one thing, like, I like Zora, and I love ScarJo, but there are times that her character feels like she was meant to be more morally ambiguous than she actually is. Like, more like Nima in the Telltale game. It's I don't know, like, because they try to have, like, the fake out scene where she slides down and then points the gun, and everyone's like, oh my god, is she gonna shoot us? Which, like, if it was more serious, it could reference back to, like, the earlier scene where there's still time to shoot, like, Dr. Loomis, like, that kind of joke, like, and it's like that kind of thing. But it doesn't play off because she's been nice this whole thing, and she's caring, and she's like, if you're a bad guy, if I'm doing business with bad guys, I don't like that, and I'm gonna come for you, even though we've already established earlier, and he's like, they don't mind if you're, you don't like to ask questions later kind of thing. Like, that's the whole reason she was hired. And so I feel like she was meant to be. And then at some point they were like, no, we got to get them to like her. So it just felt a little off kilter for me. But in general, I don't think there's a character in this that I disliked. I genuinely liked the characters. I love that they kind of narrowed the focus down. Of course, like, as much as I love the Trinity being back in Dominion, obviously that film felt so huge. And so it's nice to have it kind of dial back. Even after Chaos Theory, like, Chaos Theory just feels so gigantic at this point that it's nice to have something that had kind of minimal characters in the world of Jurassic. I think, personally, and again, another conversation for another day, I would love more minimal stories which makes it wild, like the things that kept said about like not thinking of any stories. I'm like, did you not see Big Rock? Have you not seen like some of the wonderful works that fans have done and stuff? Like, oh god, there's so many avenues. And also, if you wanted to go back to the islands, why not just do a prequel? But again, digress. I apologize. We all go off on these tangents. The other thing I really have a hard time buying into is like the second film I can like easily think of that it easily just straightforwardly is like, people don't care about dinosaurs while feeding you dinosaurs. You know, it's like it can't figure itself out. Like, there's obviously the reason people go to see these movies is because they have dinosaurs, right? They are supposed to be human stories telling with dinosaurs that we connect with, but it's the dinosaurs, right? Like we're going to see these action pieces with dinosaurs and other prehistoric beasts and creatures that exist. It's a monster movie with prehistoric animals. And that's why we like these films at the end of the day. And it seems like with the World franchise, what they've tried doing several times now is like, people are bored with dinosaurs. We're going to make something new. Okay, I guess. Go for it. I just don't see it though, because they also like, that's the whole point. Like, that's what you market in your trailers and your merchandise and everything. I can't believe my suspension of disbelief for this franchise is that dinosaurs can be brought back and other prehistoric animals can be brought back in the way that they are, right? So like, it's all in on that concept alone. And so I can also get behind hybrids and these weird mutant creatures, but for the explanation to be like, people don't care or aren't interested, it doesn't, nope. Zoos would have been out of business a long time ago. Animal Kingdom would have been out of business a long time ago. Like, their museums alone, you know, and they try to make that thing, and they're like, oh, dinosaur, like, people used to be wrapped around the box. Okay. So you're saying back in 2014/15, whenever we're going to eventually agree that Jurassic World took place, they're saying that normal dinosaurs for the park were uninteresting. And that happens. And then we've gone through all of these years of dinosaurs being in our world now after Fallen Kingdom, and like 2019-ish, because Loomis is like 5 years ago. So if 5 years would have been the end of, you know, Dominion, or just around that timeline, and people were wrapped around the block and like love dinosaurs and stuff, and now they don't, like, what? Like, even after Jurassic World has been like a thing for over 10 years before it had to close, and then all this other stuff has happened, dinosaurs were still a thing, and museums were doing that kind of business, that they sold out of exhibits and things like that, and then all of a sudden they're not. Like, I just don't buy it. It's what's more is, again, you're telling us to believe that people, like, the reason why you have hybrids and mutants in this movie in the first place is because you believe that the dinosaurs aren't enough, right? But in all of your trailers and stuff for all of these movies, it's the dinosaurs. It's the thing, you know, and every single moment, I've seen this movie 3 times now, and every single big audience reaction in this was because of a dinosaur. Whenever it was the mutants or the hybrids, absolute crickets. And it's the worst offense is the raptors. Because the way that as soon as the first one is visible to the audience, everybody is just like, oh, and the way that my heart sinks each time, just when they are done so incredibly dirty by the Mutodon just coming down and killing it, like, and the way that just nobody cares and everybody's upset. And what's more is you want me to believe that people don't care about dinosaurs, but you have specifically used like a line in your first trailer to goad people into believing that you were going to have like, if I get that scenes are filmed sometimes for trailers, but if you're going to have a scene in the trailer that promises like a prolonged sequence with raptors or something like that, and knowing that that's going to get people in there because people like raptors, you wouldn't have like these, they wouldn't be central characters of your entire franchise up until this point if you didn't think people didn't like raptors or were tired of raptors. Then do that. Like, right? Like, it's... And then you either just have that scene, the whole, like, don't tell me the raptors scene. Like, so either it's a deleted scene that you remove from the film just to make the Mutodons seem like these big bad things. Like, oh God, the raptors are the JP3 T-Rex all over again, except even worse. Like, it's just very frustrating. I think that and the Jonathan Bailey calling dinosaur Mosasaurus and Quetzalcoatlus dinosaurs, those are my two biggest gripes, I think. That and the fact that the Spinosaurs are the new Mosasaur. Like, all of the dinosaurs were just underutilized. Each one had their scene. It was like they watched Jurassic Park 3 and they were like, you know what the best part about that movie is? The Spinosaur and the aviary sequence, which is true. The whole movie's great, don't get me wrong, but those are the two best aspects. That's what that entire movie is really thought of, and the fantastic raptor designs, right? And so it's like they were like, okay, let's have a bunch of prolonged, really cool action pieces with, you know, like aviary type sequences and string them through, and let's make sure to put the Spinosaurus in there somewhere. But how... Especially after the Spinosaurus should have clearly been the main antagonist dinosaur for Dominion instead of the Giganotosaurus. Like, to have that closing of the story, they should have known that Spinosaurus is, like, so wanted at this point. And then to have it just be in there, you know, it's like, gosh, it's, you know, I almost made the comparison of, like, being Jared Leto's Joker, like only being in Suicide Squad. But the thing is like, I want more Spinosaur. I don't want more of that Joker. So anyway, you guys get the picture. It's just, it's really weird choices like that because, again, you have them there and then all of a sudden they have to get on a boat. And what's stopping the Mosasaur and the Spinosaurs attacking them on this other boat now? Well, okay. So here's the thought too. So obviously a lot of scenes from this are picked up from both of the novels that haven't been explicitly used yet. But something that happened in the movie is they also say like, oh, maybe the activity happens at night here at the gas station, which is an interesting spin on the whole fact in The Lost World that they note that, hey, nothing comes down here at night for some reason. During the day, there's more activity, but at night, nothing comes down here. And of course, it's because the Carnotauruses are camouflaged, which would have been way better than the mutant dinosaurs we got, by the way. God, hyper-intelligent raptors 2.0 and like camouflaging Carnotauruses would have been fantastic. Instead of Mutodons, which are so clearly like we're given the direction, hey, it's got a tunnel somehow because we haven't had the Excavaraptors been able to be in any of these movies yet. So we have to have something like that. Make sure you put it in there. Why not just have hyper-intelligent raptors figure out the tunnel system and use it, a la figuring out how doors open? Like, that would have been horrifying and so much better. Sorry, the demon in me. Yeah, anyway, I digress. I lost my thing. It's just... At this point, if you're gonna do mutants, you really have to go all in, I feel, and you have to do chaos effect, right? And there's kind of elements of this, but they were like, oh God, wait, we can't explicitly do chaos effect. So instead of the Ultimasaurus or Amarga Spinus, just like make Rancor, you know, but with some dinosaur aspects, and copy the Monster versus Hellhawks in a way. Like it's if you're going to do it, there's something so iconic and kind of like belovedly like fucked up and horrific and beautiful about chaos effect. as well as the fact that the names and the way that they look, you can identify them with what they're supposed to be. And the audience over 32 years has grown to know, what to expect from Jurassic. So they know what that, versus a dinosaur that, God, even the filmmakers can't decide what is it. It's like, oh, there's obviously T-Rex in it. Well, then in some Xenomorph and Rancor. Well, no shit, I get that. But what's in it? Right? They can't even decide. Versus like Ultimasaurus, it's very clear, what is in it. Or Amargaspinus, it's very clear what's in it. And it's the same threat. And so, if that's what they were hoping for, if they wanted Mutodons to be, because obviously they have the sickle claws, it's like, oh, they are a raptor. If that was supposed to be the thing, why is it not Velociraptorix or Paradeinonychus? Paradeinonychus. It's... Indoraptor, way closer. They should have just gone with the initial thing of Indoraptor, what they had, where it had all these weird sores and kind of messed up face and stuff like that before they CGI'd all over it. And do something more like that. Because Indoraptor, with its weird ticks and the way that it was thinking, way closer, way scarier than anything we got in this movie with the mutants. And so, I just wish that they would go all in if that's something they're going to do. But it still has to be identifiable for us to, care. Because, there just was no... The audience, that vibe you get from the audience, the tension left the room anytime a dinosaur wasn't on screen. In interacting with these people. And so, it didn't make any sense to me. I feel bad because I feel like I have been kind of saying all of my negatives, and that's all people hear is negative. And at the end of the day, people really should go see this movie while it's in theaters, because if you do not see a Jurassic film in cinemas, that's very rarely can you be this is for me, there are certain things that you have to see on a big screen, right? And I know that's cliche and everything, and every filmmaker's art deserves to be seen the way that they want it to be viewed. But there's something about movies where there's big things, especially big living things and big environments and stuff. And this film is so beautifully big. It's the scenery mixed with the way that some of these animals are depicted is so beautiful. The Tyrannosaur, it's one of the best Tyrannosaurs, if not the best looking Tyrannosaur we've ever got. That's probably going to be debatable and questionable to some. Hot, the T, it sizzles. But it's gorgeous. I just wish we would have gotten more of them. Especially the Spinosaurs, especially the Raptors. Also, what's with all these things just being added willy-nilly? When did we get a Dunkleosteus? When did we get Pygmy Dinosaur? The Pygmy Pteranodon? What the hell? We have wanted that Lost World Pteranodon back for so long, and what do we get? It's almost like they were putting the middle finger up to, they knew exactly what we wanted, and we're like, no, you don't get it. Because, God, do I want a sequence with the Lost World Pteranodons and not just the Pygmy Pet one, which is, of course, a fun little nod to the novel and everything like that also, but come on, I am curious about what the other species are, because I think they said there was 24 species, and we saw a handful, but then there's also things that we didn't quite see, what did Xavier spook in the woods when he was going let's go this way, no, let's go this way. Was that a Titanoboa in the water, or something with a tentacle, or something weird? What was that? There's other things, all things. Other things that weren't necessarily answered, but I have queries about, who is Mr. Parker and what is he like coming in second? Craig really was ominous in the car about it. And despite them, of course, saying this was supposed to be standalone, it just opened up so many, it felt less like Dodgson and more like a very specific, it just, especially with Parker relating to the franchise, you know, in the previous way, despite what they say in Fallen Kingdom, the John Alfred Hammond, that whole debate, the whole John Parker Hammond versus John Alfred Hammond. Like, of course, it's going to get people being like, huh? So it's just weird. Why have that in there if it's not important, if it's just a weird thing? The idea of open source, yeah, it's a good idea, but all I can think of is the worst things imaginable are done with the best intentions. And it gives similar vibes. How did Bailey know that the Quetzalcoatlus was nesting? Was it the footage? Because the marketing footage that they released like a day before that I don't think was ever like fully planned, or how? Like, it's kind of a big gamble to be like, hey, let's go check there for an egg and possibly disrupt it versus like, I don't know, trying to tranquilize the creature. Like, it's just interesting. Like, there's a lot of questions, again, lots of questions. And it's just like, I wish there was like another draft or two that they had like planned out a little bit more, or just couple more beats of certain things. Also, I have to ask, what's the story with the crashed helicopter? It's very Trespasser. We should get a series adaptation. Anyway, all that to say, again, I did enjoy the film. I think, for me, of course, Jurassic Park is like way up here, then Lost World, then Jurassic Park 3, and then the World films kind of shuffle around based on my mood. At the current moment, Rebirth sits just around / above Jurassic World for me. And just under Jurassic Park 3. I also have a complaint of... Maybe this is it. Of course, there was a lot of practical animatronics and things for Dominion. But I think when we watch that movie, we can all agree there's something that does not seem Winston about them. Very not. It doesn't have the same life that they do from the first 3 films. Arguably even the Apatosaur from World. And it's just... I wonder if Winston was somehow this push to have a more like natural animal feel to them, and they really want monsters now, or what. I mean, they've always been monsters. We can get into that, blah, 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 blah. But something just has dropped off as far as the quality of care for the animals, and not having animatronics, physical things here. Like, it all speaks to how fast this movie was put into production, how it feels like that proverbial lunchbox, right, that Malcolm talks about in the first film. It's, while I enjoyed it, and a lot of people are enjoying it, which I love, that's great. I would love more Jurassic content, and I love that people also want more Jurassic. It still doesn't quite hit it for me. Like, it's somewhat, again, in that ether of those Topps comics and the games, which are fun. This thing's rewatchability is going to be insane. I'm going to love having this thing on in the background, because I just want scenes with dino action and prehistoric animal action, and it's, oh god, it's just wonderful. But it's no Jurassic Park. It's no Lost World. You just needed a little bit more time in that oven, I think. And maybe a bit... They had something when they originally were doing 4 years, and I think something happened when they did Jurassic Park 3 throughout the script, or like that close to production, and then filmed a film, and it still turned a profit, and they were like, I think there's something to this. And so let's get them out fast. And I think, like, versus they had it before, where, you know, Crichton spent 10 years on his book. Then they had multiple different drafts. And there was so much planning and care and all of it, from pre-production all the way through to the marketing and stuff like that. And so much of this, bottom to top, just feels, let's throw it and hope it works. and it's just I think something could be better if given a little bit more time and care, and so we'll see how it progresses. Again, this felt like more like a 2-hour pilot than it did an 8-episode like series or something like that. And that's, of course, what I would love, something on Peacock or anything, but we'll see what we get. It's very clear, like, I think they are really going to try for this new trilogy, and I'm curious to see, as well as like how it ties in with all this other media that we're getting, like Jurassic Park Survival. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much what I got.
Hello everyone at Jurassic Outpost and listeners and stuff like that. I cannot be on the podcast because it's future me, and it's Monday and I'm on my way to work while this is being recorded right now. Anyways, I've seen Rebirth twice now. I'm recording this on Saturday and I just watched it for my second time last night. I took my parents. Obviously, I'm gonna start off with the negatives, the things that I didn't like. Yeah, the mutants, like, I get it. But yeah, it's all right, I guess, you know what I mean? I didn't really get the whole, the synopsis change out of nowhere. I don't know if that was in that leaked, article thingy majig, that was going around from Universal, where it had, like, everything in there a few weeks before the movie came out. I know it was shared online and things like that. But there was like major spoilers in there, so I didn't read it. So I don't know if, they changed it in there or whatever. But yeah, interesting, because from the synopsis, it was 2027. But then it said 32 years after Jurassic Park, which is now 2025. So yeah, bit of things here and there, and I think you guys will get into it, especially with Derek. I really agree with what Derek said with, the confusion between, wanting to stay away from the Jurassic World timeline and just really Jurassic World, ew, get over there, you know what I mean? Like we're a Jurassic Park movie, you know what I mean? But they kept like overlapping and kind of confusing it. Other than that, what else do I think of as a negative? I get, and when I say negatives, these are just more my nitpicks. But I still left the movie feeling like it should have been on Sauna. I think the movie should have been a prequel as well. We've not seen Sauna since 2001, and all we get from Sauna these days, like, oh yeah, we just take dinosaurs from there. So, there's dinosaurs out there, you know what I mean? And, from what we know, which is not much, maybe they might explain in season 4 of Chaos Theory, but the Spino's still out there from JP3, as we know right now, it's on Manticorp Island as of our knowledge. So, and does that count as one of the like good areas, the aquatical, one of the good zones where dinosaurs can thrive? Because there's a few of them. Is Manticorp Island one of those islands? Is Bison, island still part of those islands? You know what I mean? They played it safe, which is not a bad thing, but they've backed themselves into a corner now. And that's the scary part now with the future. And this is why I alluded to, like, it should be a prequel. I remember even a week before I even saw the movie, I was hearing, Caleb's thoughts and, the people was like, we're putting reviews out there. I really do feel like it should have just been a prequel. Just call it Jurassic Park 4, make it between 2001, 2010. I know that's what the prequel was about, but like, you could have still used Sauna. It still would have had the, InGen facility there. You could have had pipes on the other side of the island, you know what I mean? Like, you could have had everything that you had on this movie on Sauna, and you would have still, like, allowed fans time to explore Sauna, see it for what it actually is, what InGen were up to on that island even more, because, what else were they cooking up on InGen's lab? And that's what would have been what they were cooking up. It would have been the perfect story to have on Sauna to kind of wrap up that question of like, what's happening with Sauna? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. And you can just expand the lore and give us a whole new story on Sauna. As well as that, not that I'm saying this is a retcon per se, but I swear there's 2 mosasaurus signals on the boat. I know we were talking about it this morning as of the recording on this. It's Saturday. I was recording. I wasn't recording. I was talking to Caleb about the mosasaur, and I think Alex was like, I think they've, I think it's the Jurassic World mosasaur. And look, like, it would be really stupid if that's the case. I don't want it to be the case. But the mosasaurus is beautiful in this movie. That's why I'm just like, I'm not trying to like really look at it because I'm like, but I see 2 signals, and they're not the Spinosauruses because the Spinosauruses there's more. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I hope that's they can explain that, especially like we were even talking about it in the group chat as well. I pitched in a new movie idea. If it is 2 mosasauruses out there, you can call it Jurassic Park, the Lost Mosasaur. Because they've lost a mosasaur again. In the Lost World. Pretty funny. I'm trying to keep this as short and sweet and not trying to like go over what you guys are saying. I guess this is like the hard part about a podcast. What else didn't I like? I thought the ending was rushed on my second viewing. Like watching it. It definitely feels rushed, but I think for me, the fact that it's like very Jurassic Park 3 ending, that's where I'm just like, you tugged at my heartstrings. You use my beloved Jurassic Park 3, the greatest thing to come out of cinema. They used that, so I was like, okay, I get that. What would really annoy me, and from what's been floating around out there online, that Duncan was supposed to die and things like that at the end, but that got changed. It's very iconic in the Jurassic Park franchise and the Jurassic World franchise that they bring in very interesting characters and then never use them again. So like, I'm happy that Duncan's alive, but if we don't use him again, then I feel like it was just a waste of time and we should have just killed him. That's what I really commend Chaos Theory of doing. They bring in the raptor handler, this really unique character and things like that. And, they killed her off. And, whether you think that was early or not, at least we'll never have, those questions of like, oh, where are they now? Where's Sarah Harding? What's she doing? Where's Billy Brennan? What the hell is he doing? You know what I mean? Where's Kayla Watts? Where's Ramsey Cole? Interesting characters. And I think Ramsey's interesting to me, but like, you bring in so many characters and then you never use them again, and it just feels like a waste of time. So I hope that we do use him and things like that. I do agree. I know Jack was saying it before that Duncan deserved his death. Like, he lost his kid. I'm pretty sure that's the story. I could be wrong. But yeah, nonetheless, he lost all of his friends, most of them. He lost his boat. He kind of like, and he was very like about protecting the kids. Like that was, he was okay with sacrificing himself, and he definitely earned that right too. He was one of my favorite characters in the movie. I just loved him. Like, yeah, like, let's do it. Like, he's just like, I don't know, it was just really cool. I really liked Duncan. The family side of things, I generally enjoyed the family side. I was leaning towards them a bit more in my first viewing. I was like, wow, I really like this. Look, I do agree. I know Jack was talking about it in the chat as well. So I hope, I'm not covering over what you guys are saying. But Xavier, I generally liked him. To me, he reminded me of Kenji. And that's what I'm very happy, because I feel like I was the only one saying for Rebirth that I'm getting Camp Cretaceous Season 3 vibes for this movie. And, what really makes me get past this movie and like makes me overlook the negatives, because I really had fun with this film, I look at it as a Season 3 live action adaptation with a lot of sprinkles of Jurassic Park 3 and, a little like here and there of Jurassic Park and like just pretty much a sprinkle of the first trilogy, but it's a Camp Cretaceous Season 3 live adaptation. I wish they explored more with the pipes and like, yes, it was a backup generator, but I wish like, they tried booting up the system and it just like, malfunctioned and like, caused the, how the Scorpius Rex got out and stuff like that. I wish it was a bit more like that, but still nonetheless, it did use a lot of Camp Cretaceous Season 3 vibes, and I quite enjoyed that. Xavier was pretty much a Kenji clone, but live adaptation, a bit more adult. I will say this, and this is probably my hot take: how Universal and Jurassic World, how have we got one movie with gambling? They're showing gambling, alcohol consumption, and they offered a freaking 7-year-old marijuana, weed, ganja. You know what I mean? Yes, that's probably normalized in America. Fair enough. You know what I mean? But in Australia, and I'm pretty sure UK, and a lot of other countries, it's illegal. So how is having gambling, alcohol, and drugs okay in this movie? And you like catering it to kids as well. How is that okay? But video games, nah, we don't like dinosaur violence. We don't like horror aspects. No, we can't do a Fortnite collab because you guys have guns. Nah, we can't do that. No. He asks a 7-year-old if she smokes weed, bro. Like, what the heck? Yes, I understand, like, okay, it's a movie. I get it. But I really want something different for video games. It's like, I'm done with the kiddie stuff. I'm done with, the park builders. Give me what I want. Give me a freaking, give me a game like that. Give me I don't know. I'm just, that, not that it annoyed me. I know I sound annoyed. I thought the weed joke was hilarious. I burst out laughing. But it just makes me think, like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, why is this okay, but that's not okay for the IP? You know what I mean? So I hope Gareth, and what this new movie is a rebirth for a beloved franchise. I really hope they mean that, and they actually rebirth a whole entire franchise and its IP and what it needs to do in pop culture. I hope that's the case here. Not only that, I enjoyed Isabella as well, and that's not because shameless plug that she follows me. I honestly thought she wasn't annoying, and I know Jurassic Park with Lex and Tim. I thought they were pretty annoying, but obviously at the time that's how kids were and things like that. I think they used a lot of Camp Cretaceous vibes again with what they did with the kids, with PTSD, the trauma of being on an island, the way that Isabella was shaken up and she couldn't talk, and her emotional support was Dolores, or as we like to call her now, Dolores, because she makes a lot of dollars for Universal. Anyways, so I like that. The older sister, she was there. But other than that, I love Dr. Henry Loomis. I love that, we're having a paleontologist back. I know Jack didn't really like the Titanosaur scene, but I really liked it. I teared up, the first time watching it. I teared up the second time watching it. Yeah, I get it. It's nostalgia. It got me. You know what I mean? I'm a sucker for it. It was beautiful. I can't. I will admit that. Spinosauruses, as a Spinosaurus glizzy glazer. I'm loving that they were back on the big screen. They got kills. Pretty sure they got the most kills, right? I think, yeah. They got the most. Yeah, they did get the most kills. Yet again, the Spino reigns on top. That's all I will say. Rex scene was beautiful as well. And look, that Rex is the best Rex in the entire franchise. I don't know, like Roberta, I don't know what we were calling her, but beautiful, absolutely iconic. I love the scene. I wish someone got eaten. I do agree with Jack. Xavier should have died as well. He got his little redemption. He was a little lazy little shit dickhead. He didn't want to help out, and then he saves the daughter. Then he's like, oh, poor me, and I'm gonna really help out the team, because obviously a traumatic experience like that, you're probably like, oh shit, I really need to grow up. And he did that, and imagine he takes a leak, and then the Raptors get him. Really hated that the Raptors got that treatment. As I think Jack said, I think Stuck on Sauna said it, I think so, I could be wrong, but someone actually but they pointed out that that was a piss on the fans, haha, you know what I mean, I'm pissing on you. Maybe I shouldn't say that, maybe bleep that out, because I don't want to get that taken out of context, but you know what I mean, in that context of taking a shit on the fans, laughing at them, taking the piss out of them. Hopefully it doesn't take it out of context. I'll try to explain it as best I can. Anyways, so yeah, there was that. I think he should have died. I think it would have been cool if he vanished, and the dad was like, look, we got to move on, we don't know where he is and stuff like that. I think it would have been really cool and added that threat, because what was and Jack will probably be saying this, but what was the threat of the island? The D-Rex only got one kill on the like obviously you got 2 kills, one at the start and one at the end. Oh, and the helicopters, I guess. I guess like yeah, the D-Rex is the threat. But like I wish we got an aggressive herbivore scene again. Kind of sad that we didn't. Yeah, like I don't know. The Raptors got done dirty, and like, look, I understand. Like, I'm a Jurassic Park 3 fan. A lot of people feel the way I probably feel about the Raptors, the way that they feel about the Rex. Not that I'm like, I don't know why Rex fans are complaining. You got a whole trilogy dedicated to the Rex being like freaking Captain America and saving the day every single time. And yeah, can we just be happy about like that it's not a superhero movie? I tried watching I watched Jurassic World and Dominion after watching my first Rebirth session, and I honestly, especially Dominion, I couldn't get past it. And look, I don't like being negative about the movies, but you could really tell, and I forget who said it in the chat this week, that the Jurassic World trilogy really was competing with Marvel, man. The more like I hear that, it just plays in my head, and I'm like, geez, like I know in Jurassic Park we got the the Rex and Raptor battle, but that that fit, that worked. But in every single movie, really got that big gigantic Godzilla like monsterverse battle and things like that. And I guess like in Rebirth, I can see Jack's point as well, because Gareth Edwards was a big part of Godzilla 2014, and you can kind of feel that with the D-Rex and stuff like that. I get like the kaiju vibes and things like that, but I'm kind of happy it didn't have that much of a role. But yeah, I don't know. Like I just hope they blow up the island. I don't know. Like to me, they just really put themselves in a corner, and they really have to address a lot of things. And that's what makes me nervous, because I feel like now they're gonna start retconning a lot. Not sure what retcons are there now. I think they're playing it safe, where there's there's a few like there's a lot of confusion, but I wouldn't know if that's a retcon or not. Like there's a lot of confusion with the timeline and things like that. But yeah, those are my negatives. I guess I kind of went through my positives as well about liking the family. I honestly think that's the best family in the franchise, in my opinion. Mainly like I think I like the boyfriend, the dad, and the daughter a lot more, like more than the older daughter. I might change my opinion on that, but yeah, compared to Lex and Tim, Kelly, I guess the Paul Kirby family is good, but like Amanda, like she's kind of silly, and I guess it's I mean maybe I'm reaching. Maybe Jurassic Park 3 family is the best iconic family. They saved divorce. Every kid's dream. Not seeing their parents get divorced. Am I letting out too much? Anyways, sorry, I'm just rambling. This is 17 minutes. Holy moly. Shit. Maybe Jackie might have to cut through a lot of this. I don't know. But sorry, that's a lot. I'll try wrap it up here though. I generally liked it though. I think it's better than the previous Jurassic World trilogy. As I said, this really felt like Jurassic Park to me. Jurassic Park 3 Part 2 is how I view this movie, with, that it's just what it feels like. It doesn't feel like a Jurassic World movie, and I like that. And look, call me a sucker. I like going to an island, seeing dinosaurs and things like that. I think it's cool. I wish, we got them a lot more like, we only saw a little bit of dinosaurs. I feel like we saw the Apatosaurus at the start, most saw Spinosaurus, Tyrannosaur, Ankylosaurus, weird things in the water, Spinosaurus, Mosasaurus, raptors, and then the Quillops. I don't know, I did feel like we're maybe not enough dinosaurs, but dinosaurs are dying, I guess. But yeah, I guess I'm happy. I think we're going into, I think, yeah, it's better than the previous trilogy. That's what I will say. And I don't want to disrespect Jurassic World or anything like that. I do like Jurassic World, but then it's just my, what I like. I like, the going to an island and shit like that. I wish it was on Sauna. That's what I'll say. But yeah, that is my review.